I am Carmen Reese, 52 Devon Street, Town Moderator. I see that there is a sufficient number of voters present to permit us to open the meeting, and I do so declare. The meeting is called pursuant to a warrant signed by the Select Board on, thank you very much, on March 28th. That's the return of service. They don't have a date. Okay, January 8th, 2018, and I've inspected the return of servants on the warrant and find it to be in order. I declare that the meeting is properly called. We are very grateful to Superintendent Hunter, Principal Mastrullo, the Regional School Committee, and the faculty, students, and staff of the high school for accommodating us here this evening, assisting us with preparation for the meeting, and bearing with the disruption that we cause. This evening, the gymnasium is the only venue for the meeting, and voting will take place only in the gymnasium. To vote on tonight's articles, you must be occupying a seat in the gymnasium. The meeting proceedings will be broadcast in the cafeteria for those who wish to follow along from there, but no voting will take place in the cafeteria. The meeting also will be broadcast live on our high school's radio station, WIQH. I would now like to invite Fire Chief Tom Judge to come to the podium to tell us what we need to know in the unlikely event of an emergency this evening.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. Just a couple of quick safety announcements. The auditorium has 4 exits, 2 in the rear, 2 in the front. There is one behind the screen. You can't see the exit, but I assure you that there is an exit there. In the event of an emergency that we have to evacuate, I would ask you to please look around, find the nearest exit, and follow that exit to the outside. If you are taking advantage of the child care located outside the athletic director's office, in the event of an emergency, I would ask you to please head to the nearest exit and then meet the staff with your children in the courtyard outside the cafeteria. And the one last thing I would ask is that we try and keep the aisles and rows clear. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief, for that safety briefing and for all that you do. I'd also like to thank Chief O'Connor and the officers of the Concord Police Department who are here this evening to protect and serve as they are every day. Ms. Hotchkiss nominates Ms. Carolyn Flood of 1289 Main Street to serve as Deputy Moderator, who will carry out the duties of the moderator if she is unable to serve. Is there a second? I see that there is. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? That is a vote, and I declare that the meeting has elected Ms. Flood as Deputy Moderator, and I do so declare. There are a variety of materials pertaining to tonight's meeting available on the tables in the cafeteria. All of those materials are also available at www.concordma.gov under the Town Meeting tab. Wi-Fi is available here in the gymnasium and in the cafeteria to provide you with internet access. And do we have the name of the network on the screen? I don't think we do. Okay. You'll find it if you look for networks, the high school network, and no password is required. Concord School Net is the name of the Wi-Fi network, and you do not need a password. If you pick up nothing else from the tables in the cafeteria, please pick up the Finance Committee report. The first 62 pages will tell you everything you need to know about town finances, including the budgeting process, debt management, and a 5-year projection on property taxes. It also contains all of the warrant articles and the recommendations of the Finance Committee and the Select Board on the articles. This report has won many statewide awards, and we owe our thanks to the Finance Committee and to Finance Director Carrie LaFleur and her staff for another excellent report. The good order and control of fiscal affairs that you see presented in the FinCom report are the main reason that Concord is one of the few communities in Massachusetts that enjoys a AAA bond rating. And for that, we owe our thanks not only to our finance director and finance committee, but also to our town manager and his staff, our select board, our superintendent of schools, and our local and regional school committees. The green booklet entitled Concord Town Meeting Procedures, Traditions and Procedures is a useful guide to our proceedings, and I invite you to pick up a copy. If you do have any questions about town meeting procedure this evening, please feel free to talk with our town meeting procedure resource person, Johanna Glazer of 446 Hayward Mill Road. She's available for consultation on process issues and assistance in drafting and presenting motions and amendments. Ms. Glazer is here in the front row, and she is waving so you know where she is. She's right by microphone 3. Thank you, Ms. Glazer. If you are a registered voter in Concord, you should have received a voting slip that looks like this, hot pink tonight, when you checked in. You'll want to keep your voting slip handy so that you're able to raise your slip for votes by a show of hands and in a standing counted vote. Your voting slip is what identifies you as a person who's entitled to vote, and writing your name on it is probably a really good idea. If you are a resident of Concord who's not registered to vote, or you're a visitor to tonight's meeting, you should have checked in as a visitor at the visitor table out in the lobby. And you should have a visitor badge, and you should be seated in the visitor section, which is located in the marked section of the gymnasium bleachers, back there somewhere. To the right, thank you. Okay, we welcome you, observers of our town meeting. I have appointed Mr. Abe Fisher of 400 Hayward Mill Road to be head teller, Mr. David Carr of 82 Lawsbrook Road to be ballot supervisor, and Mr. Richard Wells of 368 Lawsbrook Road as assistant ballot supervisor. Mr. Fisher will be supervising vote counting on the floor in the event of a counted vote, and Mr. Carr will be supervising the ballot counting procedure and vote certification in the event that the meeting votes to have a paper ballot on any motion. Mr. Fisher, are the tellers ready to be sworn?
We are.
Mr. Carr, are the ballot counters ready to be sworn?
We are.
Tellers and ballot counters, would you please stand and raise your right hands? Does each of you swear that you will faithfully and impartially perform your respective duties at this town meeting? Thank you all. On behalf of the meeting, I thank Mr. Fisher, Mr. Carr, Mr. Wells, and every one of the tellers and ballot counters for taking on this vital town meeting function. And if we do call upon any of you to count a vote, please do remember to count your own. A number of additional thank yous are in order this evening to the huge team of people who've made it possible for us to hold tonight's meeting and to run it in the smooth and orderly way that we are accustomed to. We have the high school staff, we have facilities staff assisting with our town meetings setup, Ryan Orr, Steve Dowling, John Guerin, and Jim McCone, many members of the police and fire departments. We have our child care coordinator and child care sitters, all of whom are CPR and first aid certified, and they are Gail Gray, Ruth Ann McCarran, Lauren Herbst, Jordan Binder, and Laurie Magnan. And we're about to have a flag ceremony, and the scouts who will be assisting us with that this evening are Catherine Lynch and Cassie Cole of Girl Scout Troop 76159, and Boy Scouts Will Duggan and Nick Higgins from Troop 132. We thank also our town clerk's office staff, Kari Tari, Pat Clifford, Arlene Fitzpatrick, and the town manager's office staff. The town manager himself, Chris Whalen, Kate Hodges, assistant town manager, Andrew Mara, Aaron Stevens, and I've left out one person, but don't worry, we're going to get to her. And for IT and presentations, we're very grateful to Mark Howell, Leslie Koplow, Howard Burkett, and to Melissa Simard, who is manning the timer for us this year. A very, very special thank you goes to Town Meeting Coordinator Heather Brissett, who somehow, despite this being her maiden voyage with Concord Town Meeting, has managed to keep the whole enterprise and especially the moderator on track. So thank you, Heather. I will now call on our scouts to bring the flags forward. And would you all please stand while the flags are brought forward and remain standing. Before we begin the business of this annual town meeting, as has long been our custom, let us stand and hold a moment of silence. As we begin our proceedings, let me share with you some thoughts on town meeting from the handbook we follow, Town Meeting Time. The town meeting conception of democracy is an idealized way of expressing the democratic hope that those who are governed will be able to reach those who govern them, that they will be able to make their voices heard where it counts. It speaks for the belief that a society is safer and freer when the bulk of its citizens understand the programs and goals that their government has chosen. And they have achieved this understanding because these programs and goals have been honestly debated in public. Not least, the town meeting ideal catches an important meaning of freedom and expresses a classic conviction of believers in democracy, that freedom is in the concrete, freedom as it is experienced in daily life, is the experience of having a hand in the determining of issues that touch the individual closely and intimately. Tonight we are Concord's legislature because we are here not only as private citizens but also as legislators. We must bear in mind as we cast our votes not only our personal interests but also those of our community as a whole. As we deliberate, let each of us here tonight maintain an open mind, an open heart, graciousness when we disagree, and a healthy sense of humor, so that the debates of this meeting will not be a source of division when our business here is finished. Thank you, and please be seated, and Scouts, you are dismissed, and thank you very much. The minutes of the meeting will be kept by the town clerk, Kari Tari, who is sitting here to my right. Our select board is seated at a table here next to the podium. Our school committee is seated over there on the other side of the select board. Our finance committee is over here on the right side of the podium. I would like to note that the members of these boards and committees are all volunteers and that they all find a great deal of personal reward, not to mention many television appearance opportunities in their service to our town. If you too would like to reap these enormous rewards, do important and interesting work, and get to know your community better, you could fill out a green card to volunteer for one of our many boards and committees, and you'll find these out in the cafeteria. You'll also find them online at the town website. Ms. Hotchkiss moves that the reading of the warrant and the return of service thereon be omitted. Is there a second? Thank you. I see that there is. Any discussion? All in favor, raise their ballots. All opposed, raise their ballots. The vote is unanimous, and I do so declare. It is the hope and goal of the moderator to conclude 2018 town meeting by the end of Wednesday night. We have 53 articles on the annual town meeting warrant. No motion is expected on 6 of the annual town meeting articles, and 15 are on the consent calendar. That leaves us with 32 articles to address, and we will now proceed to Article 1. We don't have a slide for this. Under Article 1, Ms. Hotchkiss moves to take, one more preliminary motion before we get to Article 1. Ms. Hotchkiss moves to take up no new business after 10 p.m., and that when we adjourn and reconvene at 7 p.m. on Tuesday, April 10th in this hall. Is there a second? I see that there is. All in favor? Any opposed? That motion carries unanimously, and I do so declare. Okay. We will now proceed to Article 1. I am pleased to announce that by the overwhelming majority of votes cast in the town election last month, Linda Escobedo was elected to the Select Board for a term of 3 years. Jane Hotchkiss was re-elected to the Select Board for a term of 3 years. Court Booth was elected to the School Committee for a term of 3 years. Heather Bout was re-elected to the School Committee for a term of 3 years. Todd Benjamin was re-elected to the Concord Housing Authority for a term of 5 years. And yours truly, Carmen Reese, was re-elected as moderator for a term of 1 year. Ms. Hotchkiss moves that Article 1 be left open for such other action thereunder as may be necessary, and that the meeting take up Article 2. Is there a second? I see that there is. All in favor? Any opposed? Another unanimous vote, and I do so declare. Under Article 2, you should have seen in the cafeteria the annual town report. Ms. Hotchkiss moves that the town vote to accept the 2017 annual town report. Is there a second? I see that there is. All in favor? Any opposed? Seeing none, another unanimous, not you, right? Okay. Another unanimous vote, and I do so declare. We will now take up the consent calendar. You have slides for this? You didn't get them? No? Okay. So, there is a handout. For the consent calendar. And let me first explain the consent calendar. The motion is, under the consent calendar, that town meeting take action on the 15 articles listed in the calendar without any debate, provided that any 5 voters may place a hold on any article listed, in which case that article will be removed from the consent calendar and taken up in the ordinary course of business. Now, please refer only to the handout on the consent calendar that is in the cafeteria. The version of the consent calendar which appears in the FinCom report unfortunately went to press before coordinating the final motion language on all of the articles with Town Council. And it also, the version in the FinCom report includes one article, Article 41, which has since been removed from the consent calendar. So please refer only to the handout. All of the articles on the consent calendar have been the subject of public hearings before either the Select Board, the Finance Committee, or the Planning Board. All are recommended for affirmative action by the boards or committees which have jurisdiction over them. These articles were selected for the consent calendar because they were routine, non-controversial, or traditionally placed on the consent calendar. And we'll now go through each article that's on the list, and if you wish to place a hold on any article, please stand, approach a microphone, and so state, and we'll see if we have 5 voters who wish to remove that article from the consent calendar. And if we do, we will take it off and take it up in the ordinary course. The first article on the consent calendar is Article 3, Meeting Procedure. And this is that the town take affirmative action on Article 3 as it's printed on the handout applicable to the article. This is a routine and non-controversial motion in which the Finance Committee asks that anyone... Okay, we have it up there. Okay. In which the Finance Committee asks that anyone who wishes to amend a motion to add an appropriation identify the source of that appropriation. Does anyone wish to place a hold on Article 3? Move on to Article 4. Article 4 is ratify Personnel Board classification actions. Affirmative action is recommended on this by the Finance Committee, the Select Board, as well as the Personnel Board. And this motion is that the town take affirmative action on Article 4 as it's printed in the warrant, including under Clause 20, the change to classification and compensation plan that was voted by the Personnel Board and effective on March 7th to add the title Facilities Operations Coordinator to grade MP2. This, again, is routine and non-controversial, and we deal with these categories every year. Is there anyone who wishes to place a hold on Article 4? Moving on then to Article 5, Classification and Compensation Plan for Regular Status Positions. Affirmative action is recommended on this one by, again, the Finance Committee, the Select Board, as well as the Personnel Board. The motion is that the town take affirmative action on Article 5 as printed in the warrant, except that in salary grades TT1 and TT2, the word annual be replaced with the word hourly. And again, this is a routine and non-controversial motion that we take up every year. Would anyone like to place a hold on Article 5? Okay. Seeing none, we proceed to Article 6, which is the use of free cash. Affirmative action has been recommended by the Finance Committee and the Select Board, and the motion here is that the town take affirmative action on Article 6 to authorize and direct the assessors to transfer $1 million from free cash to reduce the tax levy for the fiscal year ending June 30, 2019. And again, this is a routine transfer of surplus funds that we do annually. The surplus results from revenue collection exceeding estimates or from actual expenditures being less than appropriations. The transfer allows us to reduce the tax levy. Anyone wish to place a hold on that? The next is Article 19. This one is the authorization of expenditure from the PEG Access and Cable Related Fund. This is another annual action that allows the town manager to transfer funds out of the PEG Access and Cable Related Fund to the provider of our local cable access service to enable those services to be provided. This is another routine and non-controversial item, and the specific numbers involved here are $600,000 to be expended during June 30, 2019, $400,000 estimated license revenue during fiscal year 19, and $200,000 allocated from the available fund balance. I will note that this Article 19 has absolutely no impact on Article 20, which is the freedom of the press article that deals with town meeting's view on who ought to control the provision of local cable access TV. Anyone wish to place a hold on this? Nope. Okay, Article 22. This is an alcoholic beverage bylaw amendment. This one has affirmative action recommended by the Select Board. This was non-controversial at hearing. It is an amendment to our existing alcoholic bylaw, beverage bylaw, which allows the town to issue one-day special licenses on town-owned properties such as 51 Walden Street, Emerson Umbrella, and also to permit licenses in places like the Kais Road parking lot for Jazz Fest, which currently the town is not able to do under the bylaw. This one was non-controversial. Anyone wish to place a hold on this? Seeing none, Article 33. This is a zoning bylaw amendment on the definition of a dwelling unit. Affirmative action is recommended by both the Planning Board and the Select Board. And the motion is to take affirmative action on Article 33 as printed in the warrant. And what this is a clarification of the original bylaw intent. They will provide better guidance on how the Building Inspections Division currently interprets the bylaw to determine whether a space within a structure constitutes a separate dwelling. Anyone wish to remove this one? Okay. Next is Article 36. This is another zoning bylaw amendment. This one, it relates to the reconstruction of non-conforming structures. It has affirmative action recommended on it by the Select Board and the Planning Board. And the motion is that affirmative action be taken on Article 36 as printed in the handout applicable to the article. And this is a housekeeping amendment. It adds language to clarify a potential ambiguity in the bylaw as to the types of building projects to which the bylaw applies. Anyone wish to place a hold? Okay. Article 37. This is another zoning bylaw amendment. This one relates to off-street parking, loading, and design standards in the Table 4, minimum parking. This motion is to take affirmative action on Article 37 as printed in the warrant. This amends a table to reflect a definitional change that was voted by town meeting last year. It has to do with classifying a real estate agency as a professional office instead of as a business office. Anyone wish to place a hold on Article 37? Article 42 is the authorization of Cambridge Turnpike easements, and the affirmative action has been recommended by the Select Board as well as the Public Works Commissioners. And the motion is that the town take affirmative action on Article 42 as printed in the warrant. This was non-controversial at hearing. Yes, Mina? Is there a correction to the motion? Yes, please. Yes, go ahead. This is Town Council, Mina Markarius.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Moderator. A slight correction from what is printed in the warrant. On Article 42, in the description of the access easement, it says after the number 1 in Article 42, easement plan 18 Cambridge Turnpike and 200 Lexington Road. If you follow down 2 lines where it says over 18 Cambridge Turnpike, the words and 200 Lexington Road should also be added.
Thank you very much for that clarification. Again, these easements are necessary for the Cambridge Turnpike Improvement Project, which has been on the drawing board for some number of years now and is about to start, and no appropriation is required for this article. The easements are expected to be gifted. Anyone wish to remove Article 42 from the consent calendar? Next, we have Article 43, which is the Munson Road Street Acceptance. This one has affirmative action recommended by the Select Board as well as the Public Works Commission. The motion is that Article 43 be subject to affirmative action by town meeting as printed in the warrant. It was non-controversial at hearing, and this was an extension of Munson Road that was laid out by the Commissioners of Public Works. And this is simply an acceptance of that road extension. Anyone wish to place a hold on this one? Okay. Article 48 is solid waste fund expenditures. This is one of our enterprise funds, and affirmative action is recommended by the Finance Committee, the Select Board, as well as the Commissioners of Public Works. The motion is that the town take affirmative action on Article 48 as printed in the warrant. And this is a routine enterprise fund authorization that's typically included on the consent calendar and again was non-controversial at hearing this year. Would anyone like to remove this one? Okay. Article 49 is sewer system expenditures. And affirmative action is recommended again by the Finance Committee, the Select Board, as well as the Commissioners of Public Works. The motion is that the town take affirmative action on Article 49 as printed in the warrant. This again is a routine enterprise fund authorization, and no questions were raised about this at hearing either. Anyone wish to place a hold on Article 49? Okay. Article 50 is sewer improvement fund expenditures. Affirmative action, again recommended by Finance Committee, Select Board, and Public Works Commission. The motion is that the town take affirmative action on Article 50 as it is printed in the warrant. This is again the sewer improvement fund is a sub-fund of the sewer fund, and it consists of fees that are paid by certain properties who connect to the sewer system, and this authorizes expenditures from the fund for construction and expansion of sewer lines and treatment facility capacity. Non-controversial at hearing. Anyone wish to place a hold on Article 50? Okay, and finally, we will get to Article 52, the last item on the consent calendar. This is the BD Swim and Fitness Center Enterprise Fund expenditures. Affirmative action is recommended by the Finance Committee and the Select Board. And this again is an enterprise fund authorization. It requests the appropriation from the community pool enterprise revenues, the sum of $2,122,500, and from the undesignated fund balance, the sum of $824,905 for total appropriation of $2,947,405. And that is the amount that's required for the total operating and capital expenses of the Community Pool Enterprise Fund for the fiscal year ending June 30, 2019. Now, I want to note for you that the numbers that are in the consent calendar are different than the numbers that were presented at hearing. There are no numbers in the warrant on this article because they were to be determined. The numbers presented at the hearing on this article inadvertently omitted the capital fund, the capital expenses. So those are included in the motion that is here under the consent calendar. Does anyone wish to place a hold on Article 52? I see that there is one person. Are there four more? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, we have a hold on Article 52. Okay. All right. That means we are the town clerk was just good enough to point out to me that somehow we omitted in our litany of article numbers in the motion at the beginning of the consent calendar, Article 36. Next year, there's going to be no numbers in this motion, and instead it's going to be the articles that are listed below, so we won't have this problem as things come on and off. So, the motion that we now have is for the town to, I think I forgot to get a second on this. Do we have a second on the consent calendar? I see that we do. Thank you very much. The motion is that we take affirmative actions on the articles, and they are 3, 4, 5, 6, 19, 22, 33, 36, 37, 42, 43, 48, 49, and 50, with a hold placed on 52. And that we take affirmative action without discussion. Now, I will note that we need a 2/3 vote on the entire consent calendar because we do have some articles on it that are zoning articles which do require a 2/3 vote. So therefore we have a 2/3 vote requirement on the entire consent calendar. All in favor of affirmative action on the consent calendar? Thank you very much. Any opposed? That is an affirmative vote, and I do so declare. It's a unanimous vote. Thank you very much. Since the meeting has now acted on Articles 3, 4, 5, and 6 under the consent calendar, we will now proceed to Article 7. The motion is about to appear on the screen. As we have our, let me first ask if we have a second motion for the motion under Article 7. Thank you very much. I see that we do. I want to note at this point that for presenters who come to the podium this evening, your presentation time will be shown on the clock that is on the screen. You can see it up there, and you, for folks standing at the podium, they'll be able to see it down there. There's also a red and an amber light on the podium, and the amber light will light when you have 30 seconds left, and the red light will light when you have 10 seconds left, and when you have no seconds left, you're in trouble. Mr. Whalen.
Madam Moderator, Christopher Whalen, Town Manager. I live at 1935 Main Street. Article 7 requests that the town appropriate $43,223,587 for the operation of town departments and our joint town and school accounts during the coming fiscal year. Kerry LaFleur, our finance director, and her budget team have assembled two very useful documents, the town manager's 2019 budget and the finance committee report, which are both available in hard copy and online and provide a wealth of information about town department expenditures and operations. The budget book includes performance measures for each department, as well as recent historical data. Line 35A of the budget provides for employee health insurance and is being reduced from the amount printed in the warrant due to savings we expect to see as a result of steps taken to lower insurance costs. Article 7 provides resources for all town government operations funded by the general fund. This article also allocates funds to accounts shared between the town and the Concord Public Schools. The budget for town government operations and the joint accounts for 2019 conform to the spending guidelines set by the Finance Committee as revised on March 1st. Personnel expenses represent 75% of the total cost of town government operations. Other operating expenses and purchase of capital equipment make up the balance of the cost of providing town government services. This budget request includes $986,500 in new spending for town government operations compared with the current year. That's an increase of 4.28%. In addition to the $24 million proposed for town government operating departments, Article 7 includes an appropriation of funds for the so-called joint accounts that are shared between the town and the Concord Public Schools. These include the group health insurance for employees and retirees, other post-employment benefits, or OPEB, funding our future health insurance obligations for retirees. Also included are property and liability insurance, pension costs, and debt service. These joint accounts, over which we can exercise limited control, are expected to increase in cost by more than $1.4 million, or 8% in the coming year, with fully half of that increase attributable to employee health insurance. Together with the town operating budget, the total requested under Article 7 is the $43,374,850. Of the $986,500 in new funding requested for the July 1st year, I consider $262,500 to be required spending. These items include for the new sustainability director position that was authorized by town meeting last year by specific vote, the 2 state elections scheduled for this coming fall, a modest increase in the cost of conducting the annual audit due to complicated OPEB calculations, discontinuing the use of the PEG access account to cover all of town meeting AV requirements, renting chairs and equipment for town meeting, creating an operating budget for the 55 Church Street property, the new office building acquired last August, and maintaining our capital outlay expenditures at a consistent percentage of the operating budget. As in prior years, I'm identifying providing a reasonable wage adjustment for town staff to be my top priority. Competitive wages allow Concord to attract and retain talented employees. This budget requests $740,000 be allocated to the salary reserve line item. This will allow the town to grant a wage adjustment of 2.5% for all employees, in addition to the step or merit increase which employees may be entitled to if they're not at the top of the pay scale. This amount also includes an allowance for union collective bargaining agreements. The contracts for the library and fire department employees have been settled. The police union contract expired last June, is still under negotiations, and we're in the process of negotiating the first contract with the highway and parks employees. Other spending priorities include a modest increase in our legal services account for the first time since 2004 to reflect higher legal costs. I'm also proposing a slight increase in spending at the library for books and materials, as well as for our youth and senior services in responding to growing demand in those areas. These priority spending items total $868,395, which combined with the priority items listed on the previous slide, nearly consume the full amount of new dollars available for next year. There were many needs identified by department heads that were not able to be accommodated in the budget proposal. A limited listing of those is shown here, including no increase in the snow and ice account for next year, nothing for an economic development director, no new police officers. The ambulance in West Concord will continue to operate on a 12 hours a day, 7-day-a-week basis rather than 24/7, because 4 new firefighters would be required to staff the ambulance around the clock. We will continue to have limited funds available for townwide training of town staff, and no additional lands management funds for the conservation properties or recreation. Despite the 4.2% increase in the budget for town government operations, this was a challenging year for us. There are some needs identified that will have to be revisited next year. The 2019 budget allocates resources necessary to continue to provide the high-quality services that Concord has come to expect, and I request your favorable action on Article 7. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Whalen. There are chairs here if you wish to stay up here for questions. We'll now invite questions and comments from the floor. And just a word about questions and comments from the floor. There are 6 microphones available. All of them are located at the front of the hall. Microphone number 6 is an accessible microphone. We don't have any pro or con microphones this evening. Every speaker from the floor will have 2 minutes, and the clock on the screen will track your time for you, and you will be gently reminded if you lose track of time. Let us all bear in mind that this is a meeting to conduct the legislative business of the town of Concord. No place in it for clapping, cheering, booing, or other demonstrations from the audience. And while we do expect the discussion to be rigorous on the issues, we do expect it also to be gentle on individuals. So please do state your name and address when you come to the microphone to be recognized, and direct your remarks only to the chair, the moderator. And you will definitely win the gratitude and affection of the meeting if you keep your comments focused and concise. Any questions or comments on Article 7? Seeing none, it appears that we are ready for a vote, and I will note that Article 7 requires a 2/3 vote. All in favor of Article 7? Thank you very much. Any opposed? That is a unanimous vote, and I do so declare. We will now proceed to Article 8, the Minuteman Regional Technical High School District Budget. And our Minuteman School Committee Representative, Carrie Flood, will address us. Do I have a second for the motion which is on the screen? I see that I do. Ms. Flood.
Carrie Flood, 1289 Main Street. After some challenging years, we are now in a position to focus squarely on a positive future for the district, our students, and our role in workforce development to serve the needs of our member and surrounding communities. Fiscal year 2019 will be the last in the old building. Construction of the new facility is progressing on an aggressive but achievable schedule with no significant surprises or complications to date. We've been making payments on preliminary phases and must now begin paying for the actual construction. One bond of $36 million has already been issued, and another will be issued in the coming year. Final borrowing won't take place until completion, at which time both MSBA funding and a capital fee applied for out-of-district students will kick in to assist. Another challenge has been enrollment. The total currently stands at 568, and our goal is to reach design enrollment of 628 within a few years. The blue bars on this chart show historical enrollment from our 10 current member communities. Yellow is the 6 towns that have recently withdrawn from the district, and green shows out-of-district enrollment. Although we received nearly as many applications from non-member towns as we did in years past, state rules changed a while back and now strictly limit whom we may accept based on programs offered in their home district. Although we would like to see those rules relaxed for the benefit of the students involved, we are more focused on our member enrollments and adding 1 or 2 towns as official members of the district. Here is our freshman enrollment, with the darker color again representing in-district. Note the recent increases despite having fewer member towns. We must be doing something right. In fact, we have been designated a Level 1 school by DESE based on our standard test results. Our 4-year graduation rate is high and stable. 67% of our graduates go on to higher education, 29% to work, and 3% to military service. All of our graduates leave with professional certifications in place and hands-on experience in their chosen field. Some of that, by the way, is gained by providing manpower for community service projects in our member communities, including Concord. Moving on to the dollars and cents, you can see how the building project sharply reverses a trend of budget reductions over the past few years. 1 program will close at the end of June, but 2 newer programs are growing fast. Multimedia engineering and advanced manufacturing respond directly to trends in the area's business economy and have benefited significantly from state and private grants. Looking at expenditures, we have planned a 4% hike in health insurance, increased our contribution to retirement, and accounted for increased utility charges. We are allocating $300,000 to our stabilization account for new equipment that is not covered by MSBA. Otherwise, we have budgeted only very modest amounts for replacements, if needed, on an emergency basis before the move. Looking at expenditures by state budget codes, you can see we're up a little here, down a little there, but with the largest change, again, in debt service. Exclusive of the building project, the annual budget will increase less than 4%. With the debt service, the total budget is up considerably more. And Concord is one of the 6 member communities that voted to exclude our share of debt from the levy limit. After allowing for various categories of state aid, out-of-district tuition, and use of our certified excess and deficiency fund, assessments to member towns will total $13,819,622. With assessments based on a 4-year rolling average enrollment, you can see here that Concord's very low years are no longer part of that equation. Our total assessment for the current year is just under $600,000. With a higher enrollment factor and increased debt service, our assessment for FY19 will be $742,679, of which $146,877 would be excluded from Concord's levy limit. Minuteman is proud of what we offer and prouder still of what our students accomplish. I'd be happy to answer any questions before you vote to support Concord's assessment.
I'd like to announce that both the Select Board and the Finance Committee recommend affirmative action on Article 8. Are there questions or comments from the floor?
Not one.
Seeing none, it appears that we are ready for a vote on Article 8. This is a majority vote. All those in favor of Article 8? Thank you. All those opposed? I see one opposed. One opposed. So that is a near unanimous vote in favor. The motion carries, and I do so declare. We will now proceed to Article 9, and the motion will appear momentarily on the screen. There it is. Do we have a second for the motion under Article 9? I see that we do.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. Good evening. I'm Heather Bout, 33 Alden Road, Chair of the Concord School Committee, speaking on their behalf, and also a member of the Concord-Carlisle Regional School Committee. Tonight, I move that the town appropriate the sum of $38,246,895 for the necessary and expedient purposes of the public schools of the town for the fiscal year ending June 30, 2019, and that the same be expended only for such purposes and under the direction of the Concord School Committee. Now, have no fear, I'm not going to rush through the entire school budget in the next minute. We're going to do things a little differently this year. I'm actually only the opening act for tonight. As many of you know, we've been fortunate this year to be under the leadership of our new superintendent, Dr. Lori Hunter. Since Dr. Hunter has been on the front lines of crafting the FY19 budgets and capital needs for this year, and I will say finding opportunities for cost efficiencies wherever possible, she's going to take you through the details of the 3 warrants relating to the schools. But I wanted to introduce her, so with that, I give you Dr. Lori Hunter.
Actually, before you do that, Heather, I'd like you to ask you to make a friendly amendment to your motion, and that is to insert the word raise and in front of appropriate in your motion. Would you like to make that motion?
I would like to make that motion.
Is there a second for the motion to amend? I see that there is. Any discussion? All those in favor? Thank you. Any opposed? Excellent. The amendment carries. Superintendent Hunter.
Thank you. Good evening. It really is a pleasure to be here. It was about a year ago that I sat as an observer, and it was one of the first things I did after being selected for the position. So I'm really grateful for this opportunity. It's been an incredible welcome over the last 9 months, and I feel like this is somewhat of a climax in getting to spend some time with all of you. So we'll start with the Concord Public School budget for this year. Is an overall increase of 3.9%. If you look at our trends over the last 10 years, it's an average increase of 3.47%. I can't talk about budgets without talking a little bit about our educational strengths and where some of these funds go. Some of these you're going to recognize from last town meeting, so I will give you a quick snapshot. We have educationally sound class size. Response to intervention is our small group supports to children that we're extending and expanding. We're highly aligned with the curriculum frameworks and offer robust, rigorous curriculum opportunity for all of our students. A year ago, you approved K-5 Spanish, and I think that's been nothing but an overwhelming success in all of our elementary schools, as well as an elective of Latin in the middle school. STEAM is our science, technology, education, arts, and math efforts, and we'll talk about that in the Capital article about some of our work at Ripley, but we're also in an instructional mode of providing active experiences for students. We integrate technology regularly, and we are consistently among the top performing schools in the state. Just a quick highlight of our budget process this year. We worked in a short-term process as I began to take over the leadership. We will be working into longer-term processes, really reviewing every aspect of the fiscal status of both school districts. So it was important to me to say that because tonight is really the outcome of the short-term process, more to come in the long term. In terms of this year's budget itself, our goal really was about maintaining level service this year. We had some extensive cost drivers going into the process without adding anything at all. Our contractual obligations to the Concord Teachers Association, increased special education costs, which included our preschool program for our youngest students, additional out-of-district costs that were unanticipated this past summer. And we are looking to start an in-house, more intense program for some of our youngest early childhood students in hopes that we will eliminate the need for them to go out of district. So all of those are meant to either respond to current student needs or to be more effective and efficient in our offering of services. Transportation is an ongoing discussion for us. So this year we have built in, rather than buying additional buses, we have built in leases for 2 buses at each district in order to keep the fleet current and operational. So all of those cost drivers led us to a pretty high percentage increase as the budget process started. So that meant we had to look and decide if we could sustain that, and it was decided that we needed to lower that operational cost before the school committee was even presented an operational budget. And I'll just highlight a couple of these reductions that we took prior to school committee discussion. Mostly instructional supplies and materials. There are small amounts of support staff here, as well as looking at any other items that we could, curriculum, subscriptions, and personnel adjustments, and making sure that we're accounting for exactly how we're paying our employees. So those were initial reductions of over $1 million before we brought it to the school committee. You'll see here in the next slide that we then worked with the finance committee to try to look at their guideline and take our percentage increase and continue to close that delta. That went on over the course of October, November, and March, and we're grateful for their time and attention. It was an extensive process this year. In order to then close the final gap, if you'll see on March 1st, we had still a little bit left to close. So on March 20th, the school committee met, and at my recommendation, we had offered an early separation retirement incentive to our teachers. So we had $150,000 of unallocated savings available, and I made one further reduction of an administrator who oversees our digital literacy. This is the Concord portion of that. The other half is in the regional budget, and that allowed us to reach the finance committee guideline. So finally, we ended at the 3.9% increase. We were able to maintain level service almost extensively. We definitely faced some hard conversations and probably have more to come, but we feel it's a fiscally sound, responsible budget that maintains the rigor and educational service that we expect to provide our students.
A minute under. Well done.
Thank you very much, Superintendent Hunter. I think I've already mentioned that the Select Board and the Finance Committee both recommend, well, actually, do you both recommend? The Finance Committee reports as you do, okay. And you do, okay, great. Are there questions or comments from the floor? Seeing none, it appears that we're ready for a vote on Article 9. All those in favor? Thank you very much. All those opposed? That is a near unanimous vote. The motion carries, and I do so declare. Okay. I have no motion under Article 10. Accordingly, I declare that the meeting is taking no action on Article 10, and we will proceed to Article 11.
Sorry, Article 11?
Yes,
Sorry.
Article 11. And the motion is on the screen. This is for the Concord Public Schools capital projects. Do I have a second for the motion? I see that I do. Ms. Bout.
Back again, Heather Bout, 33 Alden Road, Chair of the Concord School Committee, member of the Concord-Carlisle Regional School Committee. Once again, I'm here to just move this. It's a bit of a long motion, but I move tonight that the town appropriate the sum of $900,000 to be expended under the direction of the Concord School Committee for remodeling, constructing, reconstructing, or making extraordinary repairs, including original equipment and related work at various Concord public school buildings. And further, to meet this appropriation, to authorize the town treasurer with the approval of the select board to borrow $900,000 and to issue bond or notes under the provisions of Chapter 44, Section 7 of Mass General Law, or any other enabling authority, and further, that in accordance with Chapter 44, Section 20, the premium received by the town upon the sale of any bonds or notes thereunder, less any such premium applied to the payment of the costs of issuance of such bonds or notes, may be applied to pay project costs, and the amount authorized to be borrowed under Article 11 shall be reduced by the amount of any such premium so applied. I've never given such an exciting speech before.
Ms. Bell,
and with that,
thank you very much. It's actually not necessary to read the motion since it's projected on the screen, but thank you very much.
But I did it successfully.
So the next, that was very well read, and I admire the speed that you got through that with.
With that, minute. I'll introduce Dr. Lori Hunter again.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening. We first wanted to highlight updates from FY18 projects. So some updates then. STEAM Lab, this was our project at Ripley. We're renovating a space to make it child-friendly. We've scaled that project back considerably, so the whole project will be complete within the appropriation from a year ago. We know that the STEAM Lab is we've had a pilot working this fall, so we're anxious to bring the children over in the space that's really going to be designed for them. So we know it's going to be highly successful and should open in the fall of 2018. The Willard Fields and Irrigation Project, we've had an interesting experience at Willard. We had not yet acted on the irrigation work, and in the meantime, the septic system proved to be a problem, so that seemed to be fortuitous in its own way because we didn't tear up the irrigation to fix the septic. So we're now going to use the appropriation from last year to septic, and you'll see there's an additional request this year so we still can complete the irrigation work. At Alcott, we're looking at the HVAC system and upgrading replacement units throughout the building on a rotating schedule. We supported the implementation of an early childhood preschool playground at Ripley, which is almost complete and pretty open for business from what I saw today. So we were glad to support that project. And Thoreau, again, we delayed this, and I think it was, again, fortuitous. Initially, we were just going to do sidewalk repair, and you'll see there's an additional request because our visions have gotten bigger and hoping to get the buses off of the road and actually configure a bus driveway at Thoreau. So that leads us to our requests for FY19 for a total of $900,000. We're looking at an additional unit at Alcott, plus some sidewalk repair at Alcott for $75,000. The second phase, which will be combined with last year's allocation for $220,000, so we can really rework that whole entryway at Thoreau and hopefully have the buses pull in off of the street, as well as repoint the sidewalk. As I mentioned, we have had septic work to do at Willard, so this would then be to complement that and actually irrigate the fields. The middle schools, we need a standing line item there, given the age of those facilities. It's hard to predict what might be our next issue, so our request is to have $50,000 at Sanborn and Peabody as numbers that we can work with as issues arise. At Ripley, we're looking at windows that will support the infrastructure of that facility, so we're always trying to upgrade and maintain that site as appropriate. And we have one final piece that we're considering and hopeful to add to the playground work. There's an expansive amount of sidewalk along the preschool side of the building, and we're hoping to upgrade that because there are safety issues also along the perimeter of the building, and we'd like to make those safe and appropriate for all the young children who are at Ripley with us. So that's for a total of $900,000.
Thank you very much, Superintendent Hunter. Both the Select Board and the Finance Committee recommend affirmative action on Article 11. Are there questions or comments from the floor? Microphone number 3.
Stephen Bader.
Oh, hold on. Can we turn on microphone
working.
number 3, please? Thank you.
Stephen Bader, 7 River Street. I didn't hear a second on this motion, or actually I think on the one before either, unless I missed it completely.
Actually, I have a note that we had a second, but let's get another one. Do we have a second? Great.
See a second. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments about Article 11? Seeing none, it appears that we are ready for a vote on Article 11. All those in favor? Thank you. All those opposed? The motion on Article 11 carries by a near unanimous vote, and I do so declare. We will next proceed to Article 12, and we'll see the motion on the screen. And do we have a second for the motion under Article 12? I see that we do. And both the Select Board and the Finance Committee were holding their recommendations until the meeting. Is the Finance Committee recommending affirmative action here? Yes. And the Select Board? Yes. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Moderator. I take it I don't need to read what's on the screen? Or would you like me to?
don't need to read what's on the screen, but you do,
All right.
you do need to introduce yourself.
Yes. My name is Dan Conti. I live at 22 Tarbell Spring Road, and I am the chair of the Regional School Committee. There's my motion. And I just want to take a moment to introduce Dr. Lori Hunter. It's been a pleasure to work very closely with her over the last year, and we're very lucky to have her as the leader of our schools. I'll hand things over to Dr. Hunter.
Thank you. So we'll move on to the high school. So our recommended increase at the high school is an operational, and I'm going to qualify this as we go because we've had a couple of moving factors this year. Our operational increase is a 3.78% increase. And by the time we get to the end of the presentation, you'll hear that that number increases because of some enrollment shifts that have happened and are impacted by the regional agreement. Over the past 10 years, our overall average increase has been 3.75%. A few educational strengths of our high school, again, rigorous core courses, a very rich and deep selection of electives, integration of technology. The later start time, I know that was a large component of the budget a year ago, and I would say with resounding success that half hour in the morning matters greatly to our students. Our innovative opportunities continue. We're beginning a program called Q5, the last 2 weeks of school, which will be highly experiential and highly interest-based, and we're very excited for our students and staff as that begins. And again, we're consistently among the highest performing schools in Massachusetts, so thank you for that ongoing support. And a pretty important piece of data during this budget cycle became the enrollment numbers and the breakout between Concord and Carlisle. So you'll see here that but from 16-17 to 17-18, Concord increased by 19 students, and in that same time period, Carlisle's enrollment dropped by 25 students. That led to a 2% shift in enrollment, which leads to a 2% shift in the overall assessment to each community. And I'm bringing that up because it has had a lot of discussion throughout our budget process, fairly unanticipated. We knew this was coming, it just hadn't actualized, and this year there it was. And there's costs to Concord associated with that, which in this budget were just under $500,000. Other drivers that we had in maintaining level service, again, some increased special education costs. We've used up our special education circuit breaker carryover, which is some of our ability to have cash flow through the state subsidy program. Of course, the regional budget includes medical insurance, and we have to carry those increases within the operating budget. We also leased 2 new buses, as we did at CPS. We also carry OPEB in the regional budget, so we're carrying a line this year of $600,000. This year in FY18, the current year, it's been at $735,000. So we've been working hard to stay at the arc in the formula. We did have to take a departure from that in this budget to come in at the guideline. Contractual obligations and our use of excess and deficiency, which is our free cash that we're allowed to carry at the region to subsidize the budget. So all of those led to a need and a hope to maintain level service at a reasonable amount of cost. Just a little highlight on where we are with our excess and deficiency status. We do see a pattern where we're using that often and regularly, more so than we're comfortable. This became a discussion even before tonight's meeting that we're having to go in a little deeper than we expected because of some miscommunication last week. So our concern for this one-time use of funds will drive into FY20. For tonight, we've come to an increase of to a total use of excess and deficiency of $689,000. In FY18, it was $700,000. We had hoped to maintain it at $500,000. So our recommended budget in December was a 4.33% increase. To reach that, because of all the drivers that I've mentioned to date, we had to take the same approach of looking for some reductions in order to be fiscally responsible and come in with a number that was reasonable. So you'll see there's a list of $900,000 worth of reductions. It included contingencies, special education, transportation, and minor amounts of support staff, and that reduction I mentioned to OPEB. Given that outcome, we were able to bring to the Finance Committee, and again, I want to remind you of the enrollment piece that was almost $500,000 or a little bit more, depending on the numbers we were using. And some of the discussion we've had with the Finance Committee is that much of their original guideline was going to the enrollment shift. And we've had really extensive and productive, I think, ongoing dialogue with them through October, November, and then into March. In order to then reach the guideline, Not only have we had to look at excess and deficiency, like I mentioned, but in March, we also again looked at the early separation incentive. We also looked at our medical insurance costs, as the town did, and the other portion of the digital literacy administrator allowed us to come down enough to reach that amount. So it's important on the next slide that we look at the revenue side of this, because we do see a pretty large line continuing on from E&D, and we're going to need to keep an eye on that. When you use one-time funds, you set yourselves up for a challenging starting point going into next year. So collaboratively, we reached this outcome of 3.78% as an operational increase year to year. And then the final numbers, when you include the enrollment shift, it's a 6.76% increase to Concord. We do want to note, because of Carlisle's fewer students, they receive a lower assessment amount that's now declined 3.66%, all per the regional agreement. So that allowed us to close the budget. I expect we will maintain level service and the rigor and robustness that we've had, and likely continue many of these conversations into FY20.
Thank you very much, Superintendent Hunter. Are there questions or comments from the floor? Seeing none, it appears that we are ready for a vote on Article 12, the Concord Carlisle Regional High School budget. All those in favor? Thank you. All those opposed? The motion carries by a near unanimous vote, and I do so declare. We have no motion under Article 13. Accordingly, I declare that the meeting is taking no action on Article 13, and we will proceed to Article 14. Ms. LaFleur? Article 14 is to establish revolving funds under the Municipal Modernization Act, Mass General Laws, Chapter 44, Section 53E and a half. This is a matter that usually ends up on the consent calendar, but it's happening a little differently this year, and that's why we're going to talk about it. Next year, it'll go back to the consent calendar. Both the Select Board and the Finance Committee recommend affirmative action on Article 14. And do I have a second for the motion? Thank you very much. Ms. LaFleur.
Good evening. My name is Carrie LaFleur. I'm the Finance Director for the Town of Concord. This article seeks to establish certain revolving funds through the adoption of a local bylaw as required under the Municipal Modernization Act of 2016. The motion before you differs slightly from what appears in the warrant, and this slight adjustment will be described within the presentation. Prior to this change in state law, certain revolving funds were required to both be reauthorized and to have a budget established on an annual basis. This change permanently authorizes revolving funds while maintaining the requirement for an annual budgetary appropriation. The revolving funds affected by this change are those that are authorized under Mass General Law, Chapter 44, Section 53E and a half, including tree preservation, regional housing services, road repair, and senior services. Revolving funds that are authorized by other sections of Mass General Law are not affected by this change, and those would include the cable TV and recreation revolving funds. The bylaw established by these funds must include the following: who is authorized to expend the funds, which fees, charges, or other receipts are credited to the fund, the program or activity expenses payable from the fund, and the restrictions or conditions on the use of the fund or any other special requirements and the fiscal years affected. The full text of the bylaw, including the chart delineating all fund requirements, is included on pages 79 and 80 of the Finance Committee report. The one adjustment being proposed is to the Tree Preservation Fund, column C on page 80, and the adjustment is to add the words at the end, including permit application fees. Again, this article seeks town meeting authorization for the adoption of the local bylaw establishing certain revolving funds authorized under Mass General Law, Chapter 44, Section 53E and a half.
Thank you very much, Ms. LaFleur. Do we have any questions or comments on Article 14? Microphone number 2.
My name is Tim Rose. Microphone isn't on. Or is it?
Microphone number 2.
That is. Tim Rose, 97 Bartlett Hill Road.
Mr. Rose.
Could someone please explain to me the difference between these revolving funds and an enterprise fund?
Ms. LaFleur.
Okay. The main difference is an enterprise fund, there is a requirement that all of the fees, all of the expenses under that fund, including salaries and benefits paid to employees that work within the enterprise fund, be covered within the enterprise fund. Within a revolving fund, that requirement does not exist. So sometimes you might see that as you're growing a business, you might start as a revolving fund and transition into an enterprise fund. Or maybe the business never gets that complicated and it can operate as a revolving fund.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments on Article 14? Seeing none, it appears that we are ready for a vote on Article 14. All those in favor, please raise your ballots. Thank you very much. All those opposed? The motion passes, carries by a unanimous vote, and a near unanimous vote, and I do so declare. You didn't mean to be voting against it. It's okay. We'll now proceed to Article 15, and this is the motion to authorize expenditures under the revolving funds that we just authorized under the Municipal Modernization Act. Can I have a second on the motion, please? Thank you very much. And the Select Board and the Finance Committee both recommend affirmative action on Article 15, and we'll hear from our Town Finance Director.
This article seeks to establish annual spending limits for certain revolving funds. Mass General Law, Chapter 44, Section 53E and a half requires that annual spending limits be set by town meeting for certain revolving funds. As the moderator mentioned previously, in prior years, this article has appeared on the consent agenda. However, in order to be able to explain how the change in state law impacts these funds, this article was pulled from the consent agenda. The following annual spending limits are being requested: $265,000 for the Regional Housing Services Revolving Fund, $120,000 for the Road Repair Revolving Fund, $35,000 for the Senior Services Revolving Fund, and $100,000 for the Tree Preservation Revolving Fund. Again, this article seeks to establish the annual spending limits for these 4 revolving funds.
Okay, thank you very much, Ms. LaFleur. Do we have any questions or comments under this? Article 15. Microphone number 3, please. Ooh, you're going to have to stand on your tiptoes there.
Ruth Lauer, 100 Cons Road.
Ms. Lauer.
Referencing the regional housing number, I understand that Concord manages the regional housing services, and that number must be for the whole fall. But is it all Concord money that we are speaking of in that 200K?
That is correct. This is the entire budget for the regional Housing Services Revolving Fund. So it does include funds both from Concord and all the other member communities.
Thank you, Ms. LaFleur. Further questions or comments on Article 15? Seeing none, it appears that we are ready for a vote. All those in favor of Article 15, please raise your ballots. Thank you very much. All those opposed? I see no one opposed. The motion carries by unanimous vote, and I do so declare. We'll now proceed to Article 16, and this is the motion to accept the provisions of the Municipal Modernization Act concerning bond issuance of premiums. Do I have a second on this motion? I see that I do. Thank you. Both the Select Board and the Finance Committee recommend affirmative action on Article 16, and we'll hear again from Finance Director LaFleur.
This article seeks authorization to allow for the automatic resizing of bond issues to account for the receipt of bond premiums for bond authorizations obtained prior to the 2017 annual town meeting. Premiums are commonly received and are generated when the coupon rate exceeds the rate of return. Premiums are often generated to cover the costs of the transaction or the issuance. Premiums may be generated in excess of costs that are provided to the issuer or the town at closing, along with the principal amount that is borrowed. Net premiums may be generated in any interest rate environment, but they are often larger in lower interest rate environments when there is an expectation of rising interest rates. Going forward, all new borrowing authorizations will include language for the automatic resizing of the bond issue to account for the receipt of a premium. The town still has some authorized and unissued debt for which it would like to apply bond premium to reduce the overall size of the bond issue. Passage of this article would allow for the automatic resizing of the bonds at the time of issuance, avoiding additional town meeting action to apply the premium.
Thank you very much, Ms. LaFleur. I will note that this Article 16, requires a 2/3 vote. Are there questions or comments on Article 16? Seeing none, it appears that we are ready for a vote on Article 16. All those in favor? Thank you very much. All those opposed? Seeing none, the motion carries by unanimous vote, and I do so declare. You guys are a very agreeable group this evening. We'll now proceed to Article 17. This is the motion to appropriate funds in the Premium Reserve Fund. The motion is on the screen. Do I have a second for this motion? I see that I do. The Select Board and the Finance Committee both recommend affirmative action on Article 17. Thank you for staying there all that time at the podium, Ms. Finance Director, and we'll hear from you one more time.
This article seeks approval to transfer $324,000 from the Bond Premium Reserve Fund to pay costs in the Capital Project and Water Enterprise Fund. Language allowing for the automatic resizing of bonds for these projects was not included in the original authorizations. As a result, the town was required to reserve these premiums and seek town meeting authorization to apply them to associated projects. Application of the premium to these associated projects will reduce the borrowing authorizations by the same amount. This article seeks authorization for the following projects in the following amounts. $5,500 for the West Concord Infrastructure Improvement Project approved under Article 33 of the 2014 Annual Town Meeting. $35,000 for the Rideout and Emerson Playground improvements approved under Article 52 of the 2015 Town Meeting. $5,500 for the parking management plan implementation approved under Article 53 of the 2015 Town Meeting. $20,500 from the townhouse interior improvements approved under Article 54 of the 2015 Annual Town Meeting. $33,300 for Concord Public School building improvements approved under Article 12 of the 2016 Annual Town Meeting. $113,700 for the 2016 roads program approved under Article 26 of the 2016 Annual Town Meeting. $47,000 each for the land acquisition at Balls Hill, approved under the Article 23 of the 2016 Annual Town Meeting for the Capital Project Fund and the Water Enterprise Fund. $2,500 for cemetery improvements, approved under Article 25 of the 2016 Annual Town Meeting, and $14,000 for the rail trail design and engineering approved under Article 57 of the 2016 Annual Town Meeting. Again, this article seeks approval to transfer $324,000 from the Bond Premium Reserve Fund to pay project costs in the Capital Project Fund and Water Enterprise Fund as previously detailed.
Thank you very much. Do we have questions or comments on Article 17 about these bond premiums? I think I've already mentioned that both the Select Board and the Finance Committee recommend affirmative action on the article, and it does, Mr. Rothermel, are you approaching a microphone or a chair? A chair, okay. So it appears that we're ready for a vote. All those in favor of Article 17? Thank you. All those opposed? And we have a unanimous vote in favor of Article 17. The motion carries, and I do so declare. We'll next proceed to Article 18, which is a citizen petition seeking home rule legislation to allow 17-year-olds to vote in town elections and town meetings. And we'll hear first from Mr. Grom, and we'll also hear in a moment from Abigail Gordy, who is herself 17, I believe. Is that correct? Yes. And she has been granted special permission from the moderator to speak on this article at the meeting. The motion is on the screen. Do we have a second? I see that we do. The Select Board recommends affirmative action on this motion, and we'll hear from Mr. Grom.
Robert Grom, Mildred Circle.
Proceed.
Thank you, Madam Moderator, and thank you all for coming tonight. I'm Robert Grom, a member of the school committees, but not speaking for the school committee tonight. I'm speaking as a resident. This article requests our Select Board to petition the Massachusetts General Court for permission to adopt a town bylaw to include 17-year-olds in the definition of qualified voter. A qualified voter is entitled to vote in all town elections, participate in town meeting and in town caucus, and sign all nominating, warrant, and other petitions authorized by town bylaws. However, to serve in an elected position, the individual must be a registered voter of at least 18 years of age. Next, please. There's growing interest in many parts of the United States to extend voting rights to all those eligible to vote, and many believe that should include 17-year-olds. Article 18 is a small step in a much larger multi-state effort to allow 17-year-olds, and in some cases 16-year-olds, to vote in local and statewide elections. Next, please. Currently, there are active campaigns to lower the voting age in 7 states and the District of Columbia. In California, for example, the Assembly constitutional amendment would lower the voting age to 17. Washington, D.C. would lower the voting age to 16 in all elections, and in the state of New York, a bill calls for the voting age to be lowered to 17. Next, please. In Massachusetts, there are 3 bills currently being heard by our legislature, specifically the Committee on Election Laws, to allow 16 and 17-year-olds to vote. The 3 towns are listed there. They're all near Greenfield, Massachusetts. Next, please. And now I would like to introduce Abigail Gordy, a student at CCHS.
Hello, my name is Abigail Gordy, and like Mr. Grom said, I am a student at CCHS. I'm a junior.
Gordy, your address, please.
I live at 1479 Main Street.
Thank you. Proceed.
And in a little over a week, I will be 17 years old. And I've spent most of my life growing up in Concord. Over the years, I have attended numerous town meetings as a observer, a teller, or even a 7-year-old hostage held there unjustly by her mother. However, most of my peers don't participate in the same way. And it's not that they don't want to engage in the town, nor is it that they don't care about the town government. It's simply, as an overscheduled and overstressed high schooler, you have to weigh your options. And there is a difference between observing town meeting or speaking on an issue and voting on an issue. And this creates an unfortunate disconnect between the local town government and the younger population of the town. Particularly because by the time many high schoolers can vote, town meeting has passed, and by the time the next town meeting comes around, they'll be in college, so they won't be able to vote on the issue. And this causes the town to lose a vital, vital voice, because 17-year-olds know what it's like to be kids in the community, and they know what it's like to be students in the schools. So we have an important perspective on things like the school budget, or who we think should be on the school committee, which makes important decisions about our schools. Beyond the schools, we have important insights across the town. We know the importance of having great green spaces or safe streets to walk on, and we understand the problems that are caused by early morning traffic or parking shortages. Furthermore, we have been trained since elementary school to understand the importance of our town's historical legacy. 17-year-olds have important perspectives on the town. We have a willingness to engage, so we are asking for the right to vote. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Gordy. I believe I mentioned that the Select Board recommends affirmative action. Mr. Grom, did you wish to say something further? You did have a little more time. Go right ahead. I think you had about 20 seconds left.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, I'll yield to the Select Board.
Madam Moderator.
We'll hear from Mr. McCain, member of the Concord Select Board.
Tom McCain, 138 Nishotic Road, speaking for the Select Board. The Select Board unanimously recommends a vote in favor of Article 18, allowing 17-year-olds to vote in town elections and town meetings. Within the last month, we've seen the impact that young people can have in bringing social issues in a democratic society. Expanding the right to vote was done in 1971 to allow 18-year-olds to vote, largely as a result of the impact of the Vietnam War. It's very important that all people who are affected by decisions get a right to impact those decisions. For that reason, the Select Board would ask for your vote in favor of this article. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. McCain. We'll now take questions and comments from the floor, and I see that we have a speaker at microphone number 2 who may be familiar to many of us.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. Corey Atkins, 93 Pilgrim Road. I want to support this endeavor wholeheartedly, because we have done great research on this in the Election Laws Committee in the State House. Not only does it expand the concept of democracy, but it builds voter behavior. And what happens is that we've discovered if kids don't get the opportunity to vote before they leave for college, unless they have very aggressive mothers who send them absentee ballots, many of whom are sitting in this room, we don't pick them up again as voters until they have children in the school systems. That's a long time to wait for very educated people to become part of the voting population. So I wholeheartedly support this endeavor. And Abigail, you did a tremendous job. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Atkins. Microphone number 3.
Yes, Leanne Kay, 262 Virginia Road.
Ms. Kay, proceed.
Yes, a number of years ago, there was a prominent psychologist who came to the town of Concord and gave a lecture. And he said, adolescents have half a brain. You don't get a full brain until you're 25. And if you don't believe me, ask car rental companies. And I think that's true. I'm not here to say we should raise the voting age to 25, but let's keep it at 18. 17, I think, is still too young. And if Article 13, which asked for 100 spaces, parking spaces here at the high school, was voted on by 17-year-olds, they'd pack town meeting and would be spending up to $10,000 a parking space. So I think that we should vote no to this. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Microphone number 5.
Kathleen Snook, 471 Old Road to 94 Corner. And I think Abigail did do a great job. But thank you, Ms. Moderator. Massachusetts, as most states, sets the age of majority, in other words, adulthood, at age 18. 18-year-olds individuals are in general emancipated from their parents. In cases of adults who should not be emancipated, a parent must go to court and stand before a judge to become a legal guardian. Several years ago at town meeting, this body voted to limit the sale of tobacco in Concord to those 21 and older. The presenters and commenters at that meeting indicated that smoking was a health hazard and that individuals under 21 shouldn't be allowed to make that personal choice on their own here in Concord. Our Concord young adults between 18 and 21 apparently simply weren't adult enough. They weren't mature enough. They weren't smart enough. They weren't wise enough to protect themselves from this dangerous health risk. The majority of town meeting attendees felt the town had to limit the sale of tobacco products to protect these young people from themselves. I was one of only a handful of voters that voted against that article. I'm not an advocate of smoking, but I have a strong feeling about the age at which our country has, in most areas, designated adulthood. In addition to what I've already stated, at 18 years of age, a citizen may vote. At 18 years of age, a person may join the armed forces. At 18 years of age, an adult can go to war. They can die for our country. But here in Concord, that same adult cannot purchase a cigarette. So I find it ironic that I am back here at town meeting tonight to vote against another article about the age of an adult. To me, Article 18 seems at total odds with this town's feelings about the maturity of our young people when the tobacco vote was taken just a few years ago. That vote was about not entrusting a young adult to make the correct personal decision. This vote is about entrusting a minor 17-year-old to make town decisions that affect all residents and taxpayers in Concord. Something is inconsistent here. I could go on, but I don't want you to misunderstand my intent. I'm a longtime educator of teenagers and young adults. I would love to see our students, especially our high school students, here at town meeting.
Ms. Snook, you'll need to wrap it up. Thank you.
I encourage those who are 18 to be here at town meeting and to participate and learn about the issues, and then even speak about them in our classrooms after the meeting. I urge people to vote no on this article. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
May I make one correction?
Mr. Grom has a response. Yes.
Just a minor correction. As far as serving in the armed forces of the United States, a person 17 years of age can serve with parental permission.
Thank you. Microphone number 2.
Christian Kruger, 85 Alcott Road.
Mr. Kruger.
I would like to speak in favor of this measure, since the way I see it, when we're talking about freedoms, especially essential freedoms like the right to vote, it's important that we err on the side of giving freedom rather than taking it. Now, I've so far seen one very articulate 17-year-old in this room, and I would very much like to see more. I'd like to see more people below the age of 30 and 40, people who are young and actively involved in town politics that you don't see all that often these days. I was just at a town election a few weeks ago, and the turnout was tiny, tiny, tiny. We got a group of young kids coming in, like 5, to receive a school committee award, but the people in there didn't know that. They were so excited to see young people voting in a town election, and it turns out they weren't there for that. It was very sad. I really want to see young people at town elections. I want to see them engaged and having a voice, especially when it comes to electing school committee members, because they're the ones who are affected by that school committee. I want to see more expansion of the right to vote, not taking it away and not refusing to because we're scared that the margin of error is a few dozen 17-year-olds who are interested enough in town politics to come and vote here. So, thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Microphone number 5.
Lola Chason, 77 Walden Street.
Ms. Chason?
I wanted to speak. I am in favor of getting 17-year-olds involved in the process, but I do have a couple of questions, and certainly if 17-year-olds are going to pack the hall, then, like you say, 24-year-olds can come and pack it against them, right? But I have a question. It's easy for town meeting to say, okay, 17-year-olds can have a vote, but how do you sort it out if there's an election where there is both a question that is a state question and a question that is a town question? How much will this cost the town in order to implement that change and that segregation of voters?
So,
Mr. Grom?
Very interesting question. I have an answer from our town clerk, and the most elections that these individuals would participate in would be town elections to begin with. So there would hardly be any additional cost. The only time where that might be different is if there's a Proposition 2.5 ballot question to be answered, and if there's a Community Preservation Act question that would be answered, which has happened very, very infrequently. So as far as cost is concerned, it's not a major consideration.
And how do you deal with having the ballots separate or whatever? Has somebody thought that through is my question, I guess.
You know, I've inquired about it, and you know, I'm satisfied that, you know, the positives by far outweigh the slight additional cost that might be engendered.
I'm going to invite our town clerk, Kari Tari, to address this question.
Hi, Mai Tari, 22 Reed Road in Chelmsford. Concord has a tradition of having double elections for presidential primaries, the last 2. Generally, in order to get a question on a state ballot, it would have to be a Prop 2.5 question or a Community Preservation Act question that's submitted to the state by August. I don't know if that has happened in Concord. The cost of a double election involves having more election workers, having an additional ballot printed, which would happen anyway if there was a local election happening, for instance, the town election happening. And that cost typically is around $5,000 to $6,000 for the double election.
Thank you very much, Ms. Tari. Microphone number 2. Oh, hold on. Microphone number 2.
I can speak louder if you want.
No. The folks on TV, watching on TV, want to hear you, so.
I need that skill.
There you go.
Madam Moderator, George Corrett, 148 Peter Spring Road.
Mr. Corrett.
So I asked, what have we done in the last approximately 2 hours? We voted to spend about $40 million of town funds. 100 million? Okay, yeah, give or take. And committed the town. So what happens by law if we have voters that aren't even allowed to sell their used sneakers on eBay because they are legally not allowed to enter into a contract? And then we have bondholders, and we have bond issuers. There are legal ramifications here. There's deep contract law here. And maybe it applies to Concord more than other towns, because we're not just voters, we are a legislature. So I think there's some legal ramifications here that may not be present for other towns. Similar to this business of joining the Army. I think everybody was aware that you need parental permission to join the Army at 17. That's not a new fact. But the key is parental permission. And you're asking for a vote to commit the town to spending tens of millions of dollars without parental permission. So I'm definitely against this. I think it's a political, very populist right now. Not quite populist. I think there's another word for it, but it's a very popular thing right now, and I think it would be best for the town of Concord to wait until some of these other considerations take place at the legislature and other places, and then maybe we can join in once the legal ramifications of having non-contract legal people voting on huge amounts of money are resolved. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Corrett. Are there any further questions or comments on Article 18? Let's see. Let's have microphone number 4.
Ryan Bucas, 1360 Monument Street.
Mr. Bucas.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. I think it's interesting that we have a Madam Moderator. In fact, there was a lot of discussion some years ago about giving women the vote. Oh, they couldn't sign contracts. They couldn't own property. They had to have their husband's permission to do things. I think that expanding the suffrage is what we're about. It's not the price of democracy. It's the spreading out of democracy. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bucas. Microphone number 5.
George Gordon, 100 Newbury Court Road.
Mr. Gordon.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. I look at how few people are voting. You learn these things when you're younger. Moving down the age and starting people earlier, I think we will have more people in their 20s and their 30s voting because they started in their teens. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Microphone number 2.
Jim Terry, 368 College Road.
Mr. Terry.
I want to remind the audience that the wording in the article mentions that we are going to be petitioning the Massachusetts General Law for permission. So in fact, we are not doing it. And if the state legislators thinks it's a problem, which some people have brought up, they'll let us know. Thank you.
That's correct. And Mr. Grom, I might have cut you off before you were able to explain the home rule petition process. Had you planned to do that? Do you want to take a brief word about that?
I mean, there are several steps involved in getting 17-year-olds actually to the ballot box. This is the first step. Then the state legislature has to pass a law. Then it comes back to town meeting for us to approve that particular bylaw. So it's sometime in the future.
Thank you very much. Microphone number 4.
Pam Swing, 54 Francis Street.
Proceed.
My grandmother was a suffragist. She was jailed in the Charles Street Jail, picketing for the right to have the right to vote. So obviously, I'm going to vote in favor of this. I think that 17-year-olds are capable of mature and reasoned thinking. There's been an update on this idea that the brain is not fully developed till 25. That is true for certain impulsive actions.
Right.
But they've done neurological research, and 17-year-olds are fully capable of doing careful, calm, reasoned thinking. And I would, for one, really be happy to have them be part of town meeting.
Thank you very much. Microphone number 5.
Janet Rothrock, 618 in Erznak Hill Road, and she just made the point I was going to make, that cognitive facilities are developed earlier, so the ability to weigh and understand and evaluate issues is developed fairly early. It's impulse control that develops later, especially in males, maybe not till 25 or so. I think 17-year-olds are perfectly capable of weighing the issues and voting, and I think it would promote the habit of getting involved in civic issues and voting responsibly later.
Thank you very much. I see no further comments or questions waiting at microphones, and it does appear that we are ready for a vote on Article 18. This is a majority vote, and again, as Mr. Grom mentioned, the vote on this article starts a process for the Select Board to seek the Home Rule legislation from the legislature through our legislators, and it would be back to us again if the legislature did agree to give that legislation to us. All those in favor of Article 18? All those opposed? The motion carries by a clear majority, and I do so declare Article 18 is a vote. Article 19, I have no, Article 19 was addressed on the consent calendar, and we will therefore address Article 20. Article 20 is another citizen petition. This one is titled Independence of the Press, and the motion is on the screen. And do I have a second for this motion? I see that I do. And we will have the Select Board speak on this after the petitioners speak, and so I'll let them explain their own vote.
Hey. Mark Galis, 62 Prescott Road.
Mr. Galis.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. Fellow citizens of Concord, currently, the independent, non-government, non-profit CCTV provides us with public educational government TV access services by means of a contract with the town administration and funding from the Comcast franchise agreement. We need this independent CCTV as a crucial safeguard of our liberty. For example, any resident can record and have broadcast a show that criticizes a policy or a practice in town, knowing that it will receive equal treatment. Separately, our Massachusetts open meeting law protects the right of an independent CCTV to record all open meetings while it doesn't require any particular town administration to do so. Next slide, please. There have been some plans underway for the town not to renew CCTV's contract and to fold these services into a town department. But it's not too late to change course. Control by an administrative branch of CCTV or of these services would be an unfortunate loss for our democracy. And we must consider that future administrations could be less interested in transparency. Next, please. There are other half-controlled, half-independent arrangements possible, but they're not appropriate for Concord, where we as legislators need independent recording and broadcast of open meetings to involve all the citizens, including those who can't make it to a meeting. Next. Our local democracy includes freedom to participate in government and freedom from undue control by a particular administration. But for these, we need independent local sources of information. Next, please. Our local information sources include town website, minutes when committees actually provide them, open meetings when we can afford to attend them, also local commercial media, but crucially, our only independent, non-government, non-commercial local media source is CCTV. Next slide. You may know that the Select Board has formed a Cable Advisory Committee which can perform useful functions. However, if this town administration were to run the public educational government access without an independent CCTV, such a committee cannot, by definition, make PEG resources independent of government administration control. They're part of the government. For example, we cannot assume that town employees might not try to anticipate the preferences of their employer, who would be the town administration. Next, please. There are other concerns. Rapid technological change in information communication requires a critical mass of expertise and resources and a focused team of diverse talent to take advantage of and keep up with the benefits, provide them to the town, such as CCTV has right now. Next, please. Furthermore, on the financial side, if the town government runs PEG access and Comcast funding decreases, will access services decline, or will the loss be made up from taxes? An independent nonprofit can seek non-tax funding. Next slide, please. There are also potential legal concerns. If town government runs PEG access, do we risk having to defend against litigation relating to FCC regulations, libel, apparent conflicts of interest, and other causes? Note, PEG dollars cannot pay for town's legal defense. They're earmarked specifically for providing these services. Next, in summary, what is the best model for Concord's public education government access television if we want to provide for independence coupled with strength, resilience, and growth potential for these important information services that I maintain we need more than ever these days? Next, the answer is we currently have the best model, CCTV. It gives us independence, concentrated expertise, and a core around which future expanded and improved services can be developed. Thank you very much. Please support Article 20.
Catch your breath, Mr. Galis.
Tanya Bartevian, Galis, 62 Prescott Road.
Ms. Galis.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. I am delighted to be here and very honored. I grew up as the member of a politically silenced minority in my country of birth. So I truly cherish our freedom of speech, our independent press, and our opportunities to participate in government. I first found out about our town manager exercising his prerogative to take over CCTV during a July Select Board meeting, and it was completely coincidental, and I was truly surprised. I spoke out against that decision a few times during some Select Board meetings. I was not going to necessarily go on and put this on the town meeting warrant because I was already busy following the Long Range Plan Committee. But on January 4th, we had this snowstorm. Our neighbors were home. It was a wonderful time to go collect signatures. It just did not feel right not to go ahead and put this article on the warrant. I will just briefly summarize why it's important to have an independent CCTV. For the government channel, as has been said many times, we are the legislators. We deserve equal access to the government channel, as does our administrative branch. We don't want any glitches to be attributed to possible conflicts of interest. Sometimes our select board, for their own good reasons perhaps, can protect mistakes of other committees while correcting them moving forward. That's their business. We do not have to necessarily be protected from all the information. There should be no question of the independent, definitely unhindered, unbiased broadcasting, recording, archiving of government meetings. Furthermore, even though we do trust our current select board and town manager in intention and in their goodwill, we do not know who our future administrators will be. As for the public channel, what needs protection are programs that are about dissent. It's not the dog shows, it's not the health shows, it's not the arts and entertainment, it's dissent shows. For those also, do we want to risk going through committee complaint process until it is way too late to have our programs broadcast in a timely manner? I don't think so. I really think we have to hold on to this wonderful public asset. Please join me in supporting Article 20 and vote yes. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Galis. We will now hear from Ms. Alice Kaufman of the Select Board.
Good evening. I'm Alice Kaufman, 1615 Lowell Road, member of the Select Board and speaking on their behalf. Thank you, Ms. Moderator. The Select Board discussed how best to deliver innovative, engaging, top-rated public access programs and services to our community. We reviewed 3 possible operating structures, all within the law. Cable services could be operated by a cable company. We ruled that one out in favor of local programming. Operated by an independent nonprofit corporation, which is what we've done for the last 10 years or so, or operated by a municipality or school. After much discussion, we voted to support the model to have cable programming operated directly by the town, establishing a new department with the combined expertise, talent, and resources at the disposal of the town. This is the approach that's followed by many other communities in Massachusetts. Medford, Littleton also provides cable programming for Boxborough, and Somerville. We weighed the concerns of citizens regarding the potential censorship of content, and while it is a legitimate concern in some cases, with gavel-to-gavel coverage of government and education affairs and equal access to public use of the studio and equipment, the Select Board didn't find that censorship would be much of a concern. But to safeguard, the Select Board, as you mentioned earlier tonight, set up a new committee. We chartered the Cable Television Advisory Committee to monitor, and this is exactly what the charge says, to monitor the effectiveness of Concord's PEG access services and to help the Select Board ensure that the new structure conforms to the requirements of the Comcast franchise agreement while safeguarding the public's interest in community television through policies promoting fairness, equal access, and non-discrimination. The committee is also intended to promote quality telecommunication services that reflect the interests and concerns of Concord residents. The Select Board urges no action on Article 20. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Are there questions and comments on Article 20 from the floor? Microphone number 2.
Madam Moderator, George Corrett, 148 Peter Spring Road.
Mr. Corrett.
I think involvement in media is an excellent activity for 17-year-olds. I will reveal a secret that when I was 17, I published a clandestine newspaper, secretly distributed in the high school and brought home for parents to read. Actually, I started that in middle school because I built my own printing press device out of old parts. It was one of the few copying machines not controlled by government institutions in the city of Bowie, Maryland. So, but that's very important. I think media is something that children should be involved in. I know the high school has an active radio station. And the technology has changed a lot. It's not, it used to cost maybe $1 million in 1980 to have something that could give you real-time video uploaded to a network. That is now cost $150. Technology has changed, and I think this is a remarkable article, unexpected, and I'm definitely going to vote for it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Microphone number 3.
Yes, Leanne Kay, 262 Virginia Road. You know,
Ms.
if it's
Kay.
not, oh, thank you. if, they say if it's not broken, don't fix it. It's fine. This, I urge passage of Article 20 to keep it in the hands of the people. And I'd just like to point out there has been censorship in Concord government, in the schools, and in the town. I have a document at home. February 1996, there was an 8,000 part per billion lead level detected at Sanborn Middle School. It was documented by the Board of Health. It was known by the school committee. And about a year later, I tried to put an article in the Concord Journal documenting that, and the Concord Journal editor, Ms. Daniels at the time, refused to print it because she didn't want to upset parents. So there have been secrets that the schools and the town want to keep from the people, and I think we need an independent, nonprofit source of information so that tragedies like this never happen again. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Microphone number 4.
450 Old Bedford Road, President of the Board of CCTV. We support Article 20. We're in ongoing discussions with the town regarding how CCTV might exist as an independent media entity in order to reach its full potential and carry out good decisions with independence.
Hold on one second. You live in Carlisle, right?
Concord.
Oh, you live in Concord. Okay, great.
To carry good decisions with independence, CCTV, a nonprofit organization, needs authority over its own operations as it provides services to the town of Concord and Carlisle. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Microphone number 5.
Bridget Neal Paris, 241 Prairie Street.
Proceed.
I have a question for Ms. Kaufman. I want to say, first of all, I'm strongly inclined to vote yes on Article 20 for independence of the press. And you didn't explain in your talk why the Select Board is opposed to it. I'm wondering, what are the reasons why you don't support this article? Thank you.
I will ask Ms. Kaufman to come to the microphone and explain. I will remind speakers from the floor that they should address their questions to the chair rather than to individuals who have spoken at the podium. That's great. Ms. Kaufman is passing the torch to Town Manager Christopher Whalen. Mr. Whalen.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. Let me see, this was a long conversation. CCTV's contract was, after 10 years, was extended for an additional 3 years and is due to expire in September of this year. Last year, I began a 1-year-long dialogue with CCTV folks to talk about how we could make things better. And they declined to act on my recommendations and requests. And so I've notified CCTV in November that this would be the 3rd and final year of their agreement. And the reason that I took that action and the board has supported me, and I appreciate the board's support, is what I'm looking for is not less, not to restrict access, but to increase it. If you look at the PEG access operations of other communities, you'll notice a dramatic difference between what you see in Concord and what you see in other communities. They're engaging a lot more young people. They're making the PEG access programming available on mobile devices so you can immediately access the board meeting that you might have been to. They're encouraging the youth in the community to get involved. Young people carry around phones that are video cameras that they can upload those videos and get them on the air. And we're not really doing much of that at all. And my interest is to cover more meetings. The school committee is not live. We want to have the school committee live so you can tune in and see what decision they might have made on something that's of interest, to cover more boards, more events, to get more students involved in the e-programming, and to the extent the P is public access, that the public wants to have more shows, that they can do that. I thought the Select Board did the right thing in creating an advisory committee. If anyone is dissatisfied with the work that the town staff is doing, they could protest to the advisory committee, and if the advisory committee's response is unsatisfactory, go directly to the elected officials on camera in a very public way. So I thought that was a roadmap for better services. The goal, if you like what you get now, I think you can count on that continuing. But we are excited about the many opportunities to expand the services that are available. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Microphone number 2.
Christian Kruger, 85 Alcott Road.
Mr. Kruger.
So a lot of people are going to speak for or against this, and that's very important because the service that CCTV provides in terms of what it gives us to town government access is incredibly vital. But the question of CCTV being perpetuated into the future relies in large part upon funding. Right now, almost all the funding we get, well, all the funding we get actually, I think, is from an agreement we have with Comcast based on the amount of revenue they get from cable subscriptions. Those are going downwards. We're going to get less and less money from those. And since I believe the town will eventually want to keep up the quality of programming, we're probably going to end up coming here at some point in the future and voting for the town to pay for that. So the question becomes, who do we want to be running that show when the town is directly paying for it? I believe that the board has done an excellent job of managing it currently, and I don't know how that would change if it were under the town ownership. But that's a question up to the town. How much of a voice do you want? How direct do you want that voice? Do you want it to be through a board? Do you want it to be through the town selectmen? Where do you want it to come from? So as you're considering this question, please keep that question in mind, because it's maybe 10 years down the road, 20 years down the road, that we're going to see significant decreases in the quality because of that lack of funding, and we're going to need to make up for it somewhere. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Microphone number 3.
Thank you. Carlin Reed, 83 Wits End.
Ms. Reed.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. I've been studying this issue for about 2 months now. I've been looking at some data, and while the numbers of subscribers for Concord have dropped from 6,000 to 5,840 over the last 40 years, the number of Carlisle subscribers have risen from 1,498 to 1,515 over the last 4 years. The number of subscribers dropping is irrelevant to the actual amount of revenues, except so far as they each pay roughly $6 per month. Now, the revenues are based on the overall cable TV bill that the Comcast subscribers pay. Those bills are going up. There is little information that's been presented so far justifying the claim that the revenues will be going down. So that's one piece of data point that I would encourage you to consider when you're looking at this question. More importantly, I want you to consider that it's important that we have good quality public access and that the funds are managed responsibly. I have full faith and confidence in our town to be able to do that service. And I would urge everybody here to support the town's approach of no action on this article. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Microphone number 4.
Lori Gilpazaris, 1376 Old Marlborough Road.
Ms. Gilpazaris.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. I'm very sympathetic to the reasons that our town wants to acquire CCTV, and I even agree with many of them. However, having said that, I also grew up during the Cold War with Russia, and I can remember as a child thinking it's awful that the Russian people have to have their information filtered. They're not getting a wide view of what's going on in the world. And from that perspective, I really do believe that democracy is well worth protecting, and it starts here in town government. And to repeat something that the presenters mentioned, we have the greatest confidence in our town staff and our town management today, but what would happen years from now if that should change? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Microphone number 5.
Yes, my name is Karen Kugel. I'm 15 Nathan Pratt Drive, Unit 3. I think that there has never been, ever, a time in our country when it was more important to protect our First Amendment rights and free speech. And perhaps more important here, where this is the birthplace of the Republic. I think that CCTV has done that respectfully in its tenure, in its 10-year process in serving the town. I think that we have done more than a good job in terms of managing the budget, such that in the last 3 years in particular, we've managed to have a surplus of money that could in fact be funded for all of the projects that the town would like to initiate, but we actually had not heard fully about these plans until just a few months ago at the League of Women Voters meeting, when the town manager's assistant presented what she wanted to do. Many of the things that they wanted to embark upon, we can do if we were afforded the money and the resources to do so. However, our town has been given, or the CCTV has been giving a level budget spending, which essentially cropped the amount of money that it could spend on any new initiative. So I would say that if you want to maintain freedom of the press for this administration or anyone to follow, if you have the opportunity to join CCTV, be a member of it, anybody, to repeat, anyone who is a member of the town, who goes to school or works here, can participate in any kind of show, opposing or not opposing the town, can do a program. Our government sessions are gavel to gavel. And for that, for the free programs and for the education programs, we have ultimate opportunity to do what we need to do within our current structure, including the board of directors, which can be representative of the town. We can have 7 to 17 members. So I thank you, and I really want you to think about the freedom of the press issue.
Thank you. Microphone number 2.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. Corey Atkins, 93 Pilgrim Road.
Ms. Atkins.
This is an issue that I really feel passionately about. And I've probably been on the opposing end of the press on many occasions. But I believe holding their freedom sacred is the absolute foundation of our democracy. This is an exercise that is funded by ratepayers, not taxpayers, for one thing. So it should be independent just within that context. And I remain confused as to why Concord is holding back, the town of Concord holds back money. But right now, we are going through an explosion of information that is not documented, that is not coming from places that we understand. And we need this vehicle to be as independent as possible to teach both the community and our students how to evaluate that process. And I think CCTV can do that. In fact, I know they can do that. And that it is essential for them to be independent during that process. So I really encourage people to vote for Article 20. If it's, as one woman said, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And the last thing we ever want to tamper with is the First Amendment to the Constitution. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Microphone number 4.
David Allen, 316 East Bridge Road, Madam Moderator.
Mr. Allen.
Thank you. I think I'm just reinforcing the able presentations by the 2 petitioners here. But in that process, I think this is just common sense. What's the role of the media? Well, in a democracy, it's to tell truth to power. And guess what? You really can't do that in a situation where the power you're telling the truth to gets to tell you what you can say. I think it's really pretty straightforward. It's already been mentioned that in our society, widely, there are some serious threats in that regard. We want to be sure here we do what's right. Some details, facts. Those who've looked at the webpage know that there have been some assertions that are not supported by the past history. Another detail, I believe it's 6 towns out of the 321, 351, I forget, cities and towns in this Commonwealth who have taken over their TV stations. Very few, that is to say. But the real story here is the icing on the cake. You just heard from the president. I won't embarrass him by explaining the stellar place he occupies in this business. The whole board, you've heard from another board member here, are remarkable. We want in Concord to hold our head high and be sure that we're doing the right thing and keeping our media free. We have a terrific board that's already brought them to a very fine place. I do hope you'll join voting in support of this excellent warrant article. Thank you, Madam Moderator.
Thank you, Mr. Allen. Microphone number 5.
Court Booth, 144 Wright Road.
Mr. Booth.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. I don't speak for the school committee. I haven't been seated yet. I don't speak for the board of directors of CCTV. I left that role a week ago. But I do have, I think, some context to share that might be useful to town meeting. It was, in fact, Chris Whalen, the town manager, who had the original vision for an independent corporation and saw it as a great youth resource. Well, that's been a tough uphill battle to bring lots of young people into the organization. The idea of press independence is critical, and I applaud the petitioners, but I don't think it's part of this particular decision that the town has to decide. Rather, I think the rules of PEG protect us, and they would protect us whether we have an independent corporation as a third-party vendor or whether the town provides it directly. The rules of the game are, if you're a member of the public, you get to produce, and the PEG access station and internet has to broadcast it for you. Similarly, educational institutions submit, and it gets broadcast. And as has been said many times, nobody can edit anything coming out of the government. It's gavel to gavel. Finally, I would share that the town manager, in my estimation, has been exceedingly patient and accommodating with the independent corporation, trying to make the needs known as he understands them from the town's perspective. So I'm highly conflicted on this one. I see both sides. I will, in fact, vote against it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Booth. Microphone number 3.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. Dee Ortner, 169 Thoreau Street.
Ms. Ortner.
I'm a bit perplexed and conflicted myself, and I think maybe we need the expertise of a mediator to help solve this problem. It seems as though we just have a problem in front of us and we need to find a solution. I'm very glad that if the town is unhappy with the service they've been getting, that they have raised it and that they've raised it to this level so that the townspeople can decide. Also, there isn't anyone in this room who would say that independence of the press is not essential. So there we are. However, I think that there was a potential solution that was presented by the town in advocating or recommending an advisory committee. Perhaps the solution is that an advisory committee that is comprised of people who are on CCTV and people from the town sit together, hammer out what it is that has to be done, whether it's money or whether it's more people, more volunteers, whatever it is, and where does Carlisle fit in with all of this? And so I think that there can be a resolution, and I'm very glad that this has been brought up. I don't know what the outcome will be. It will be dependent on what everybody decides here, but I think an advisory committee that is comprised of both sides would very much aid whatever the decision is. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Microphone number 5.
Ann Hayden, 342 Sudbury Road.
Ms. Hayden.
In going along with what Dee just said, I think that if we had a moratorium for a year to really assess all of what the issues are, exactly what Dee was saying, and you could take the advisory committee and use that or create something different and really look at everything. Because it sounds like there were some problems viewed by the town and things didn't happen they would have liked to have done, and that CCTV had a budget and stuff they wanted to do, but the town didn't let them spend the money to do what they want to do. So if we took a year to see if it's possible that CCTV can make changes and expand the way we would like, talking about what we want that to be and how we want it to go, and then a year from now, it's all looked at again to see where we are at that point. I think that would be a much better way to proceed than sort of having this thrown on everybody and all of us. The other point that I'll make is that in listening to some of the discussions in the last month or so, it sort of struck me that if the town takes this over, I'm not sure, nobody has ever expressed anything about what a budget is. And if we have really amazing goals for what we want to have to happen, but it can't come out of the money that we get from cable, that's going to be coming out of the taxpayers if this is run by the town, where if it's a private organization, you look at it differently. And so I think that's another piece that hasn't really been discussed, and I think that townspeople want to be involved in those discussions and see that they happen. So I would recommend a moratorium, which would mean that I recommend a favorable vote for this and not having the town take it over this year. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Whalen, do you want to address the question of budget and where funds would come from?
Thank you, Madam Moderator. The question of future funding of PEG access operations is a good question. You can read conflicting reports. One, that the revenue is increasing because more and more people are buying more expensive broadband services, Comcast charges are going up, and we've seen the revenue increase steadily. Others would say that when Comcast's license is up for renewal in 2024, they may say, we don't want to pay this access fee, these access charges anymore, in part because the town is offering broadband services that just hit 1,000 customers. Those customers are not paying the Comcast fee. So there's an argument that could be made that the PEG access revenue will go down or perhaps zero out. When, I'm not exactly sure. It seems to me at that point that the town would not say, well, we're not going to record town meeting in the future, or we're not going to record the select boards meetings or other town committees. I think the town has an expectation that those activities will be televised as well as other things. So if the PEG access revenue goes to zero from Comcast because they feel it's not a level playing field, they're the only company paying that fee, I think the town would face a question. Do we want to pay town employees, do we want to pay for that service to cover those meetings? The argument was made where private companies will cheerfully come up with the funding. I don't believe so. There is an argument, they're trying to create some advertising revenue, but there aren't many advertisers that are willing to pay, and certainly not enough to fully fund this operation through advertising revenue. So the town will face a big question if the Comcast revenue dries up, but I think that's a question we'd have to face, and the likely decision would be we might hire 1 or 2 town staff. It would be operated as a town operation. We wouldn't turn to a private corporation. And just one other thing on the budget that was, I didn't agree to their terms in this current year budget. CCTV was looking for a major increase in their legal expenses and their accounting expenses, beyond what I thought was reasonable. So those areas I did say hold them at a level.
Thank you very much. Microphone number 5.
Diane Proctor, 57 Sudbury Road.
Ms. Proctor.
And I speak for the League of Women Voters as the president of the league. We have discussed this. We've held a First Friday seminar in which we've had an opportunity to hear all points of view, and we feel very strongly that the question of the future of revenue is not the issue here, that the question of an advisory committee is not the issue here. The question is freedom of press, freedom of opportunity for all citizens to have access to, and a right to speak their voice and their point of view. To jeopardize that in any way for any reason, we believe is foolish. It is not and does not in any way reflect a lack of respect for our present town government and for their initiative and their imagination. And through the advisory committee, those initiatives and imagination can blend beautifully with the existing CCTV board. Nonetheless, given the world we're living in right now, it is critical that we vote yes on this article.
Thank you very much. Now, I'm just going to point out that we have been on this article for 37 minutes now, and I see at least 2 speakers at microphones who've been here before. So I'm just going to urge everybody that if you've got something new, that's great, and otherwise maybe we're getting close to a close on the discussion here. Microphone number 3.
Peggy Wargelin, 97 Hillside Ave. I am one of
3 members who've been sworn in on this new advisory committee, and we can't meet because we don't even have enough for a quorum. So assuming that we're going to get in there and help facilitate things is a little bit optimistic at this point. So we would very much love to have anyone who would
Are
like
you
to-
campaigning for green cards?
I
If you want to be on this committee, these are out in the hallway, folks.
You do not need to be an expert. You need to be slightly interested. We're interested in people we're interested in high school students. We're interested in parents who are interested. Just anybody who is interested in any aspect of it. We'd love to have you.
Thank you very much. Ms. Galis, I think you must have something to add, do you? You may have just a moment. This is the hard way up and the hard way down. Ooh, okay.
Thank you. Tanya Galis, I just want to quickly reemphasize why PEG access regulations are not enough to guarantee equal access and freedom of the press. Simply because there can be no rules against whatever a citizen wants to record and broadcast. There can be no rules against cutting any government meeting short and not making it gavel to gavel. But it's always possible to omit broadcasting a government meeting, to disappear a government meeting from archives, to delay broadcasting a government meeting, to delay a citizen dissenting program until it's past its worth. So there are many ways of interfering with freedom of the press. And I also want to add that the Select Board always spoke in favor of the town manager's decision. However, they never, to my knowledge, discussed in detail exactly why they were supporting the decision. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Microphone number 2.
Matt Johnson, 21 Winthrop Street.
Mr. Johnson.
Last year, I grew dissatisfied with my heating contractor, and I resisted the temptation to pick up a wrench and start working on my heating system. Instead, I went and I found a different heating contractor, and I'm actually much happier with the new contractor. I'm questioning here why we had the town picking up their wrench, and I'd like to understand what was the process that led to this change in governance and not to the identification of a contract with a new party that has expertise in this field. It just seems like a mix of two different things going on here. And I'm confused. I'd love to understand the background of this. I don't really get it.
Mr. Whalen, would you like to explain?
I think Mr. Johnson's comparison is a good one. It's a contractor, and when you're dissatisfied with a contractor, you find another contractor. In this particular case, there aren't that many contractors that provide this service. The state changed the law 3 years ago, I think it was. It allowed towns to collect this revenue and put it in an account and expend those funds, and so that's the reason why there's only 6 communities that are doing it. It's only relatively recent that towns have been allowed to collect the revenue and expend it for this purpose. So Littleton did it pretty quickly afterwards, and the other towns did as well. So the choice, there aren't a lot of contractors willing to come in and record your governmental meetings and get into the schools and that sort of thing. So it's really kind of a choice of limited folks or to do it in-house. And it's not terribly complicated. We're very confident we can handle the technology. In-house, where our accounting services we're accountable to the public for the way we spend the money. And if people aren't happy, they speak to the select board and make known their concerns. So that's the choice we faced.
Thank you very much. And apologies to the person at microphone number 6, who I did not notice. Sorry.
Sue Felshen, 19 Sunnyside Lane.
Ms. Felshen.
It seems to me we've been tussling over whether Article 20 is right or wrong, whether it is better for the town to take over CCTV or better not to. But that's the wrong way of looking at it. It seems pretty clear that in the general rule, CCTV will work better if the town takes it over. It will be more efficient. It will give us better service, unless something goes severely wrong with our town government, at which point we will have a serious problem in providing us with an alternative method of getting news. So the question is, if we leave CCTV independent, will it give us adequate service whilst also giving us the protection we want, or won't it? And all I frankly have been able to come up with in all this time is this decision is premature, because I'm really not quite sure. I don't think a town advisory board as currently set up or proposed would solve the problem, because it would be subject in the same way to the town government somehow succumbing to the sorts of problems we've seen in some other arenas. So all I can say is I am going to think hard about how I'm voting, but I'm thinking we might need an extra year to think this over. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Microphone number 3.
Ruth Lauer, 100 Kais Road.
Ms. Lauer.
I concur with Ms. Felshen's comments about strong feelings on a matter of different issues. We need time, and because time is available to do that, I would move to commit this issue for a period of either the contract ending in September or the next town meeting, at which we would get a report on the committee who is now gathering green cards.
I'm not sure what your motion is, Ms. Lauer.
I move to commit this article as on page 6 in your handy-dandy green pages.
Is there a second for Ms. Lauer's argument? Motion?
Motion.
I see that there is. Have you given the explanation you would like of your motion, or would you like to say more?
I believe what we are hearing this evening is the need for more time to bring people to the table with more information. I concur with the entire message that I'm hearing from the town manager. I feel very strongly for the people who are believing that freedom of the press is a crucial freedom. I understand that the town has rules for setting contracts. We don't have relationships till the end of time with anybody. Our relationships are well crafted and thought out. Maybe that's what we need, more time to develop the relationship that is being proposed.
Order, please.
Yes.
Could we see, apparently we've got an amendment on the floor. Could we see it in the text, please?
Could you see it in the text?
Up here.
I'm not sure we need to. It's a motion to commit and to a date certain, or to further study. Just a motion to commit to further study.
That's why I would like to see the text, so we know, in fact, what we're voting on.
Yep, fair enough.
I would propose until the end of the contract in September or at town meeting, the following town meeting.
I think you need to pick one.
Pick one. Town meeting.
A moment. Town council. So there's nothing wrong with this motion. The motion is to commit until town meeting next year, correct? And I will remind everybody that this is a resolution, basically. It's an article to urge the select board and the town manager to take a particular action so that it in any event doesn't have a binding effect. But I will say that our practice here in Concord has been to vote up or down. in general. But we have this motion and we have the second, and we will now turn to debating the motion to commit. I think I see that the petitioner wishes to say something about this. I'm going to let him speak first, and then I will go to microphone number 3.
Thank you very much, Madam Moderator. I would appreciate if the moderator or another knowledgeable person would explain to the community at large what this means, because to me it seems like simply an avoidance of having a clear vote on an advisory motion, and it seems to me to be not very helpful in any way in allowing the town a voice in the determination of the future of public access services in the town. So I would appreciate a clear explanation and something in writing on the board so that everybody knows what we're talking about. It sounds to me like a stalling procedure without much merit. Thank you.
So let me say that if I had the view that this was a parliamentary maneuver intended to prevent us from voting, I would rule the motion out of order. It does not sound to me to be that type of motion. The motion is based, as it was explained to us by the movement, Ms. Lauer, that we just don't seem to know enough about this in order to take a vote on things as they currently stand. Her thinking is that if a committee is going to be appointed, let's let it be appointed, let's let it find out some more information, and let's come back at the end of the contract and review this at that point. The motion is in order.
She said next town meeting.
Next town meeting, sorry, yes. Thank you for that. So the... So we will project this motion to commit. But the motion is in order, and as I say, this is not a typical motion for us at this town meeting, but we do see it sometimes. We saw it on the dog bylaw, as I recall, several years ago. Microphone number 3, and we are now talking about the motion to commit.
Ann Hayden, 342 Sudbury Road.
Ms. Hayden.
I have a question that I think the answer will help to clarify, certainly for me and for probably others, what I might want to vote. My understanding with the initial warrant article was that it was asking the select board not to, or the town manager not to hire the staff to start in September in having the CCTV programs be happening in the town government. It's not clear to me with this new motion whether there is any direction to the select board as to whether they do that or not. The direction was only to the advisory committee to assess everything. So my question is, if this were to pass, what is the select board and the town manager going to do? Are they definitely going to hire? Are they going to think about it some more? I mean, what's going to happen? Because ultimately, that's what we're talking about is the CCTV going to be within town government or not within town government? And it's not clear what this new motion, how that's affecting that.
Okay, so would the town manager or the select board like to come and answer that question? And I think, as I understand it, the question is, if this motion carries to commit this article until the next town meeting, what will you do when the contract expires? That is the question.
Good question. Of course, I've already notified CCTV that their contract would not be renewed, to give them a year to plan, or 11 months to plan for a change. frankly, I hadn't determined, depending on the action tonight, whether it was on the motion to commit or if the article passes, I would go back to the elected officials in town, have a conversation with them about how they wanted to proceed. Town council advises us, wanted you to know, wanted the body to know, would you like the non-binding nature, to comment on the non-binding nature of this action by town meeting? Would that be all right, Madam Chair?
That's all right. Thank you. We're here from town council.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. Just to clarify, I'll start with the motion that's before you, the motion to commit. The motion to commit would require a report back for town meeting next year. However, neither that motion nor the original motion would change the select board and the town manager's authority under both your charter, general laws, and state case law to not go forward with the contract. So at this point, whether you commit or you don't commit, it's in their hands. So, thank you.
Thank you, council. You've been very patient, Mr. Allen. Microphone number 4. But you're addressing the motion to commit now.
Indeed. And being so shy, I try never to come back, but here we are. On the motion to commit, if I may, the chair of the select board is on record saying if town meeting approves this article, the chair cannot imagine that the board wouldn't honor that. Whether or not, of course, that happens is another matter, but honor, frankly, matters an awful lot. And it means, if we take it seriously, that a vote on this article makes a very big difference. Several people, starting with one of the other of us at these mics, pointed out, gee, it wouldn't hurt if we had a year. And one way to get that year is, frankly, not to commit, but to vote on the article as it stands and let the matter come back up and get a report at the next town meeting. It seems to me that that's an excellent path to follow, and I have a feeling that a number of people in the room will come to the same conclusion, that we're at a point where we don't have enough information. Well, kind of obviously, to come back next year and be able to vote on this would have to mean that the town doesn't take it over. In fact, there have been negotiations, quiet negotiations, to consider an extension of the contract. Very much thanks to the select board for making that happen. It seems to me we are best served by voting the original warrant article motion, not voting for the commit, as much as I appreciate the mover of the commit trying to find a good path forward here. I think we're better off not voting for the commit. Vote for the article. Let it carry forward.
Mr. Allen, I do think we have your point, and I think you're out of time.
Forgive me.
That's
Let me
okay.
Go be shy.
Microphone number 5.
Karen Kugel at 15 Nathan Pratt Drive, Unit 3. I want to thank the town manager exceedingly for giving a perfect example of how the town can actually modify, suppress, or hide the true situation. In his example of how CCTV wanted more money for legal and accounting expenses, the reason it wanted that was because it was told by the town that it needed to close down its shop. It needed to zero out its budget. And dissolve its corporation. And in order to yes.
No, I think I'm going to have to stop you because I think that this is on the question of whether we're going to commit the article, and I don't think that your remarks are addressed to whether we're going to commit it. Are they, or are they?
Well, I just want, if the reason to commit is to gather more information, then I want to add some very important information under consideration, that this is a perfect example of how the town innocuously, or perhaps not, can actually hide what is truly happening. The reason that CCTV asked for that money was to dissolve the corporation. That was a perfectly legitimate reason to ask for those funds at the time, and the town manager did not state that.
Thank you very much. Okay. Now, I just want to remind everybody who's at the microphone, the motion before us is whether the meeting will commit this article, Article 20, to be revisited next year at town meeting. And so that's what we are discussing and debating. Microphone number 2.
Madam Moderator, George Corrett, 148 Peter Spring Road. So I ask a question, which is, what evidence is there that after over 40 minutes of debate, the legislature here does not have enough information to vote on this non-binding resolution? And so I don't, it looks like everybody's, to me, looks raring to go to vote. And we'd be better off not having to deal with this at the next town meeting.
Sounds like you're against the motion to commit.
So I'm against the motion to commit, and then hopefully somebody will call a question, and then things will just go.
Microphone number 4.
Yes, Kathy Cucolo, 243 Katarina Heights.
Yes.
I am here to speak against the motion to commit. I think that it obfuscates the issue that's before us, and that is, do we want an independent news outlet in the town? And I think that's what we should be voting on. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Microphone number 5.
Yes, David Carr, 82 Lawsburg Road. Yes, I'm equally confused about the effectiveness of this motion to commit. With the dog bylaw, for example, to put that off meant that simply nothing happened. There would be no change in the operation of the town. In this case, we have an imminent change, as town council has pointed out. In the presence of this motion to commit, the town would be perfectly able to take over CCTV, and then we'd come back next year and be able to reconsider, and of course it would have been taken over, and it would pretty much be a moot point. So it doesn't seem to make much sense to me. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's see. I think you were there next. Microphone number 5. Yes. I'm very sorry. I missed microphone number 6 again. Hold on just a second there. Microphone number 6.
Bridget Neal Paris, 241 Prairie Street. I would like to call the question.
Okay, this is a, is there a second? Thank you. This is a non-debatable motion, and I do believe that it's in order because we have been at this for quite a while. It requires a 2/3 vote to move the previous question. All those in favor of moving the previous... Yes, this is on the motion to commit. That is the question that has been moved. And just so everyone understands the procedure, if we approve this, we will proceed to a vote on the motion to commit. If we approve the motion to commit, we have committed it. If we turn down the motion to commit, we will go back to the article and vote the article. Okay? All right. So we need a 2/3 vote to carry a motion to call the question. All those in favor of calling the previous question? All those opposed? That motion carries by well more than 2/3, and we will now have a vote on the motion to commit. All those in favor of the motion to commit Article 20, please raise your ballots. All those opposed? The motion fails by an overwhelming majority, and we will return to discussion and vote on Article 20. Do we need any more discussion on Article 20, or are we, let's see, one more person coming to the microphone? Microphone number 5.
Court Booth, 144 Wright Road.
Mr. Booth.
I've spoken before on this, so I'll be brief. Just a point about the budget. The budget has been discussed. The town manager has approved a level-funded budget for CCTV and an amount in addition to that of $25,000 should the corporation find it necessary to wind down. So I want to be clear about the monies that are available. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Microphone number 4.
Madam Moderator, Tom Amoroso, 109 Stone Lane, and I'd like to call the question, please.
Sorry, microphone number 3. Do we have a second for that motion? All those in favor of calling the question? All those opposed? That motion passes by well more than 2/3, and we will now proceed to a vote on Article 20. All those in favor of Article 20, please raise your ballots. Thank you very much. All those opposed? And I see that Article 20 carries by well more than a majority, and I do so declare. Now, we will take up no new business after 10 o'clock, but it's not 10 o'clock yet. We will proceed to Article 21. See, Article 21 is on the screen. This is a motion to appropriate funds for municipal capital projects. Do we have a second for this motion? I see that we do. And I want to note that both the Select Board and the Finance Committee recommend affirmative action on Article 21. We'll now hear from Mr. Whalen.
Madam Moderator, Chris Whalen, Town Manager. Article 21 requests that the town vote to appropriate and authorize the treasurer to borrow $2.6 million to be used for 6 capital projects this year. Town management has adopted financial policies that guide our use of town funds. Those policies are shown in the appendix of the town budget book. Our policy on capital investment provides for 2 to 3% of the operating budget to be allocated to capital equipment, such as computers and vehicles. Those expenditures were approved under Article 7. Major capital investments are funded using 5% of the operating budget for debt service. This slide shows the proposed debt financing capital projects articles for 2019. These projects have been included in the 5-year plan and do not require Proposition 2.5 debt exclusion vote. First, $510,000 is requested for the renovation of town facilities. The town uses many older buildings that house town staff and maintain operations. These buildings require regular renovation and improvements. This year's renovation projects include work at the townhouse and 141 Kais Road, as well as other buildings. Energy efficiency and sustainability practices are built into each project. $75,000 is requested to fund improvements on town trails, including trail design and installation, grading, drainage improvements, boardwalks, and signage. Concord is fortunate to have a dedicated group of volunteers, the Trails Committee and their supporters, who work tirelessly to maintain and improve the town's many miles of walking trails. This project will be managed as a joint effort between the Natural Resources staff and the Planning Department. $365,000 is requested to purchase a new fire engine. The fire department will trade in our existing engines 5 and 7 and replace those 2 with 1 dual-role pumper. Engine 7 is a 2007 Crimson Structure fire pumper scheduled for a $150,000 refurbishment in 2018. This pumper has been troublesome since its acquisition, and we do not believe spending $150,000 to refurbish the truck is a wise investment. The estimated trade-in value is $30,000, and that would be applied against the cost of the new vehicle. Engine 5 is a 1989 brush pumper, which can carry only 2 firefighters. Replacement parts are not available, and the vehicle requires about $50,000 in immediate repairs. If funding is approved, Engine 5 replacement in 2020, currently planned at $350,000, will not be needed. $1.4 million is requested to repair a portion of the town's 107-mile roadway network, including repairs to arterial and collector streets, residential roadways, and off-street parking lots. Where necessary, improvements to drainage and safety features will be included. These funds will be supplemented with $680,000 in state aid and approximately $120,000 collected annually in the Road Repair Revolving Fund. Planned mill and overlay work includes Partridge Lane, Hubbard Street, Church Street, and D Road. Reclamation treatment will occur on Baker Avenue Extension, Alcott, Independence, Park Lane, and Munson Road. Article 21 also requests $150,000 to provide energy-efficient systems in the new wing of the main library being planned by the library trustees for 2019. The library land and buildings are owned by the private nonprofit Library Corporation. Normally, the corporation builds and maintains the facilities, and the town pays for the staff and other operating costs of the library. In this case, I believe it's a sound investment for the town to contribute to the efficient heating and lighting and other systems in the new wing because the town pays the cost of utilities. This investment now will save the town money over the life of the facility. The new wing will be located between the existing building and the house at 151 Main Street acquired by the Library Corporation several years ago. Town funds will be used to help finance an energy-efficient HVAC system and energy-efficient LED lighting system with occupancy sensors throughout the new construction. I've also included in the 5-year capital plan an allocation of $550,000 to be voted next year for furniture, fittings, and equipment for the new wing of the library. This request is similar to previous authorizations under Article 39 in the 2003 annual town meeting to support the renovation of the main library. This partnership between the town and the Library Corporation has resulted in library services which are beloved by the community. Finally, we are proposing to spend $100,000 for improvements to the parking lot at the Harvey Wheeler Community Center. The funds will allow the addition of 6 to 10 new parking spaces, crack sealing, minor repair work, new curbing in some locations, bollards to protect the lampposts, and accessibility improvements, as well as signage at the entrance. This brings the total request to $2.6 million, which has been included in the 5-year plan, and I request your favorable action on Article 21.
Thank you very much. I would note that there is a handout on Article 21, which has the text of the motion as well as the fiscal year 2019 debt plan printed on it. Are there questions or comments on Article 21?
Thank you, Madam Moderator.
Seeing none, it appears that we are ready for a vote on Article 21. All those in favor? Thank you very much. All those opposed? I see that the motion carries by a near unanimous vote, and I do so declare. It being just after 10 o'clock, we will adjourn for this evening. We will reconvene tomorrow night at 7 p.m. And since Article 22 was addressed on the consent calendar, we will begin tomorrow night with Article 23. Thank you all and good night.